My name is Lisa, and I'm 37 years old. I live with my husband Larry. We both work for the company that Larry's dad started. Even though Larry's dad has retired, he turned a small construction business into a company that makes $300 billion a year. He bought other construction companies, and even though he could be tough, everyone respects his business skills. Larry was groomed to take over after his dad. He grew up in a privileged way and is very kind-hearted. I worry that he might struggle in the competitive business world because he can be hesitant and unsure. Larry himself admits, "I don't think I'm cut out to lead. I might just end up as a figurehead if I try." He doesn't seem eager to take charge of the company. We've been married for 10 years and lately I'm frustrated with Larry's lack of drive. Unlike him, I see myself as someone who makes decisions easily. During his active years, my father-in-law appreciated this about me and gave me important tasks to handle. Before I married Larry, I worked at a bank, so I'm used to handling finances and always thinking about numbers. After we got married, I quit my job at the bank and planned to focus on being a full-time homemaker. But then my father-in-law asked me to work for his construction company instead. Soon after I started, he began inviting me to join board meetings and asked for my input on how things were managed. Initially, some board members were unsure about having the founder's daughter-in-law involved in important meetings. However, as I consistently offered valuable insights, they started to take my suggestions seriously. Despite Larry also being on the board, he rarely attended meetings and everyone, including my father-in-law, saw this as normal. One day when I returned from a meeting, I found Larry casually watching TV. "Why didn't you come to today's meeting?" I asked, feeling angry. "You're an important member, you should take it seriously." He didn't seem guilty at all when he replied, "Even if I did go, I don't really understand what they discuss. Besides, everyone prefers your input, so it's not a problem, right?" I couldn't help but wonder if he was upset about me being involved in the meetings, despite his nonchalant remarks. My father-in-law has been teaching me all the ins and outs of running the business and seems to be preparing me to take over. I started to enjoy being part of the management, and soon enough, I was working hard to meet my father-in-law's expectations. About 3 years after I started attending meetings, my father-in-law retired completely. When important decisions needed to be made, the board members would come to me for advice, sidelining Larry. I had hoped that this would motivate Larry to get more involved, but instead he became even more disconnected from his work. Despite coming to the office in the morning, Larry would vanish by noon and spend the rest of the day at home. When he saw me there, he avoided talking about work altogether, seeming uninterested in the company's affairs. Meanwhile, my responsibilities at the company kept growing. After my father-in-law retired, the board members relied on me increasingly, and I started handling duties similar to those of a CEO. Our company is large with many employees, so I worked hard to boost sales and profits for their sake. Thanks to the efforts of our employees, our sales started to rise. I found running the company more and more intriguing, and I became deeply involved in my work. In contrast, Larry seemed to lose interest in his job, and his presence at the company became less frequent. Our conversations at home dwindled, and our relationship started to feel strained. "I met your sister Nancy today, and we had lunch together," Larry told me when he came home. Nancy, who's 3 years older than me, just went through a divorce about 4 months ago. It happened because she cheated, and things got really heated when her angry husband showed up at our parents' house. I was caught up with work, so Larry stepped in to calm down Nancy's husband. Despite the tense situation, Larry's gentle nature and calm personality managed to persuade him to leave peacefully. Nancy later told me, "Your husband is really something. He handled my furious husband so effortlessly." She was impressed by Larry's ability to diffuse the situation. Nancy was able to finalize her divorce after paying alimony. Since then, she seemed to see Larry in a new light. Before, she might have viewed him as a wealthy, sheltered son who wasn't particularly remarkable. But after seeing how he handled her husband's anger, she began to see him as a capable and respectable business owner. Nancy, who was now single after her divorce, might have seen Larry as a desirable catch because she always liked wealthy men. But I was so focused on my work that I couldn't even imagine such a thing. Little did Nancy know, Larry was just a figurehead at the company and didn't actually run it. Nancy's ex-husband had been an impressive employee at a foreign company. He had boasted to me at their wedding, saying, "I have a high salary and good looks. You must be jealous." He was indeed handsome, intelligent, and carried a sophisticated charm. I couldn't fathom why Nancy would cheat on such a wonderful husband. 5 months after Larry mentioned having lunch with Nancy, I came home one day to find Larry looking unusually serious. "Lisa, we need to talk," he said. It was the first time he had spoken to me like that, and I felt a sinking feeling in my chest as I waited for him to continue. "Actually, Nancy is pregnant with my child, and I want a divorce," he told me. I was shocked by both the request for a divorce and the news of Nancy's pregnancy. Stunned and speechless, I listened as Larry added, "Nancy plans to come over on our next date off to discuss this. I hope I can count on your support. I was shocked. "So you want to marry my sister?" I asked Larry. He looked troubled and replied, "It's not that I want to marry her, but if she's pregnant with my baby, I feel like I have no choice." Larry's usual indecisiveness frustrated me, and I sighed. "Well, if she's carrying your child, I guess we have to deal with it. Let's talk more when she comes over." Feeling like Larry and I couldn't make decisions together, I decided to meet with my sister directly to sort things out. Even though I had already made up my mind about getting a divorce, I felt I needed to talk to my father-in-law about the situation with the company. As someone involved in running the business as the founder's daughter-in-law, divorcing would make me feel like an outsider. The next day, I went to my in-law's house and shared exactly what Larry had told me with my father-in-law. My mother-in-law was initially excited about the prospect of having a grandchild, but she quieted down quickly when my father-in-law gave her a stern look. It seemed she cared more about the grandchild than the company's management. After thinking it over, my father-in-law smiled and said, "Lisa, I want you to continue managing the company as you have been. Larry can do as he pleases. I'll handle the responsibility." It was clear that my father-in-law valued the company's management more than anything else, including his son or the prospect of a grandchild. Even though he had retired, as the company's founder with the majority of shares, his influence was significant. There were no executives who would defy his wishes. I had grown attached to my work and was reluctant to step away from it. With my job secured, it was time to discuss the future with my sister. On my day off, she arrived at my house with a confident smile and said, "Lisa, it's a shame you couldn't have a child." She then arrogantly offered me money as compensation and demanded that I leave the house immediately. My husband sat there silently, listening to our conversation despite being the cause of the problem. I was dismayed by his indifferent demeanor and responded, "It's fine to discuss divorce, but we also need to address custody and property division. Let's bring in a lawyer to handle this properly." "I never imagined you, my own sister, would end up with someone like Larry," I replied to my sister with a touch of sarcasm. She glared at me briefly but then composed herself. "I've come to realize it's not just about appearances or status, it's about who someone is on the inside," she said earnestly. I couldn't help but stifle a laugh at her sudden wisdom about my husband's character. Holding back my amusement, I said, "That's wonderful to hear. I hope you and Larry find happiness together." It seemed my sister believed Larry was more than he actually was, perhaps even the president of our father-in-law's company. It was clear she hadn't heard the truth from him. After our discussion, my sister decided to move in and arranged for movers. Knowing how impulsive she could be, I had already organized a new apartment with just the essentials. I also hired a lawyer to prepare documents for dividing our property and determining alimony. The next day, after moving my belongings out, I began negotiations for alimony and dividing property with my husband and sister, alongside my lawyer. My husband remained passive, showing little emotion, while my sister did all the talking. "As I mentioned earlier, I'm willing to pay whatever alimony you ask for, so please take your time to decide," she said. Upon hearing this, my lawyer decided to pursue alimony from my sister as well as my husband. My sister is already making alimony payments to her ex-husband. I had been informed beforehand that it might be challenging to claim alimony from her. However, since she offered to pay whatever I wanted, I decided to proceed with the claim. During the property division negotiations, my sister eagerly pointed out, "This mansion originally belongs to Larry's family, so it shouldn't be included in the division of property, right?" Remaining calm, the lawyer responded, "This building and the land are owned by the company, so it's ultimately up to the company to decide." It seemed even my husband thought this house belonged to his father. "Is that so?" "I thought this house was Dad's," he casually remarked. On the other hand, my sister was surprised and turned to the lawyer, asking, "Wait, does that mean I can't live in this house?" The lawyer replied professionally, "Since it's owned by the company, you can continue living here if the company agrees." Relieved, my sister exclaimed, "Oh, you should have said that earlier. It's fine because Larry, the president, will still be here." This statement caught the lawyer off guard, who burst into laughter. "What are you talking about?" "Lisa is the president, not Larry," he clarified, looking at my sister who planned to marry my husband without knowing this crucial detail. She immediately turned to Larry and exclaimed, "Larry, you're not the president." Seeing his discomfort, I stepped in and explained to my sister, "Larry is an advisor without executive authority. I, on the other hand, am both an executive director and the president. Our father-in-law, who founded the company, was always the president. When he retired, he appointed me to these roles based on my performance, and there was no opposition from other executives. On the other hand, my husband was receiving an executive salary as an advisor, thanks to his father's arrangement, despite not having any executive responsibilities. It was more of a symbolic title than an actual role, and the salary was lower than what a regular employee would earn. This meant I was shouldering all our living expenses. Larry showed little interest in our household finances and didn't even know whether our home was owned by the company or his father. Although it was company property, my responsible father-in-law had always charged us rent. I had seen it as a standard rental arrangement, but the lawyer, still chuckling, asked, "Can we continue renting this house to Larry?" My sister was quick to react to the rent question. "Rent? Why would we charge Larry rent? It's company property, just let him live here for free." The lawyer then presented the rent amount, which startled both my sister and Larry, who seemed surprised to hear about it for the first time. "Looks like the rent for such a big house is pretty steep. I can't afford that on my salary," Larry remarked, realizing the financial strain it would pose with his modest executive compensation. Over our 6 years of marriage, Larry had exhausted most of his earnings. My own salary had also been swallowed up by high rent and living costs, leaving us with few assets to divide, mainly savings. After the lawyer left, my sister, now aware that the mansion she coveted was rented, appeared crestfallen and stared blankly. Meanwhile, Larry wore his usual grin. I suggested, "Why don't you move back to your parents' house? Your mom was thrilled about the pregnancy." Larry agreed, but inwardly I couldn't help but find the situation ironic, having to consider arrangements for a man who would soon be my ex-husband. I started to worry about whether he could responsibly raise a child, but I quickly dismissed these thoughts as irrelevant. Turning to my sister, who seemed to have forgotten about her own alimony situation, I asked, "Are you okay with the alimony arrangement, sis? You seemed confident earlier, but you're also paying your ex-husband, right?" Her expression shifted abruptly as she processed my question, snapping back to reality. "Alimony? I have to pay that too?" my sister exclaimed, clearly shocked and seemingly unaware of our earlier discussion. "You said you pay plenty of alimony earlier, but you didn't expect to pay it yourself, did you?" "My salary is really low," she continued, sounding incredulous. Larry and my sister exchanged surprised glances, and I couldn't help but feel like laughing at the situation. I had already finalized the divorce papers and alimony requests, so personally, it didn't affect me anymore. But watching Larry and my sister's reactions was almost comical. My ex-husband, who had remarried my sister and moved back to his parents' home as I had suggested, found himself caught in constant arguments between my sister and our in-laws. The root cause of these conflicts stemmed from the lie about my sister being pregnant with his child. His mother, hoping for a grandchild, was furious upon discovering the truth. Meanwhile, my father-in-law, who had never approved of my sister taking his son away from me, refused to even speak to her. He covered Larry's alimony payment in full, ensuring it was settled. Witnessing my sister's plea to our father-in-law, "Dad, could you please pay my alimony too?" was met with his stern response, "I have no reason to be called Dad by you," he retorted angrily. Disheartened and unable to achieve what she had hoped for, my sister left my ex-husband's family home abruptly, without saying a word, and disappeared. It seemed she had remarried my ex-husband solely to bear the burden of alimony, a decision that now seemed painfully naive. My ex-husband appeared to reconsider reconnecting with me, but his father rebuked him. "You're not the kind of man who should even think about starting a family. You can't even take care of yourself properly." Watching all of this unfold, I couldn't help but reflect on how we had reached this point. When Larry agreed to move back to his parents' house, I knew it was the right decision. While his mother was overjoyed at the prospect of a grandchild, I couldn't shake the feeling that Larry was simply not ready for the responsibilities of parenthood. His lack of engagement during our marriage persisted, and I doubted it would ever change. Seeing my sister's shock when she realized she had to pay alimony was almost amusing. She had been so confident earlier, but it was evident she hadn't fully considered the consequences. With her finances already strained, adding more payments would only worsen her situation. I couldn't help but wonder how she could be so naive. The negotiations for alimony and dividing our property proceeded smoothly thanks to my lawyer's meticulous approach. Everything was handled fairly and transparently. In contrast, Larry and my sister appeared bewildered and overwhelmed by the process. Their exchanged glances of surprise and confusion indicated they hadn't fully grasped the gravity of their circumstances. Moving out of the house marked a significant new chapter for me. I had already secured a new apartment and was ready to start afresh. Although I had once considered the house my home, leaving it behind felt like a weight lifted off my shoulders. Since it was company property, parting with it also symbolized letting go of the final ties to my life with Larry. After I moved out, tensions between my sister and my in-laws escalated. The deception about her being pregnant with my ex-husband's child caused an irreparable rift. My father-in-law, who had never approved of my sister, openly expressed his disdain. He saw her as the cause of disruption in our family, and this latest lie validated his concerns. When my sister asked my father-in-law to pay her alimony, he coldly rejected her plea. "I have no reason to be called Dad by you," he snapped, clearly furious. Her hopes for a comfortable life supported by my ex-husband's family shattered, leaving her without the expected support. In the end, my sister fled from my ex-husband's family home without a word, abandoning the turmoil she had stirred. Her plan to remarry my ex-husband and secure financial stability had disastrously backfired. Instead of finding security, she had only multiplied the problems for herself and those around her. My ex-husband, realizing the chaos he was caught up in, seemed to consider reconciling with me. However, his father, always the voice of reason, rebuked him harshly, saying, "You're not the kind of man who should even consider starting a family. You can't even take care of yourself properly." Ultimately, I moved on from the entire ordeal. I focused on my career and building a new life, leaving behind the turmoil that had engulfed my marriage. It was evident that Larry and my sister had their own paths to navigate, and I chose to detach myself from their complicated lives. The experience taught me valuable lessons about trust, responsibility, and the importance of making decisions based on personal integrity. I resolved never to reconcile with my ex-husband, even if he begged me. His betrayal with my sister and his indifferent demeanor had shattered any remaining faith I had in him. During our discussions, he lost his executive position and now works as a temporary employee. His behavior throughout our marriage and after the affair made it clear he wasn't reliable or trustworthy. His lack of commitment to our relationship and the company showed he wasn't suited for the responsibilities he had. Seeing him reduced to a temporary employee only reaffirms my decision to move forward without him. Being CEO has become the most important aspect of my life. It gives me purpose and fulfillment, keeping me focused and motivated. I take pride in improving the company for our employees and their families. Being CEO is now central to my identity, and I can't imagine giving it up. I'm not considering remarrying after our breakup. Starting a new relationship isn't something I'm interested in right now. I've been through too much emotional turmoil to even consider starting a new relationship. Right now, my focus is on myself and advancing my career. There are many goals I want to achieve, and I'm determined not to let anything distract me. I've kept in touch with my father-in-law, and he's been a great source of support and wisdom throughout everything. His advice has been invaluable whenever I face tough decisions or need guidance. My commitment to the company feels like a marriage in itself. For the sake of my employees, I dedicate myself fully to its success. This means hard work, dedication, and a passion to ensure our business thrives. I'm committed to providing job security and a stable future for our team, and their well-being is a top priority for me as CEO. This journey has taught me resilience and staying true to myself despite personal challenges. I've steered the company through steady growth and maintained a positive impact on our employees' lives, which motivates me every day. Ultimately, my focus remains on leading the company and supporting my team. I'm driven to create a successful future for all of us. While my personal life has had its challenges, my professional life gives me stability and a deep sense of accomplishment. This is where I draw my strength and where I choose to direct my energy moving forward.
Hey, isn't today our honeymoon, when we're supposed to go on a trip together? Why did you rip up my passport just as we were getting ready to go? I couldn't believe what my husband had done. He ripped my passport without asking, looking really pleased with himself. It made me so mad. I never wanted to go on this trip with you. I was always going to go with my mom instead. Before we got married, I felt some tension, but I didn't realize how messed up things were between my husband and his mom. Nobody in my friend group ever talked about their mother-in-law taking over their honeymoon. I was shocked and mad about this crazy situation, but mostly, I felt super weirded out. I started to question if marrying him was a big mistake. As he pulled out scissors and started cutting up my passport, I saw my mother-in-law grinning like crazy and knew I had to escape from there fast. It was totally unexpected, but I had just the right proof to take them both down. My name's Sarah. I'm 29 and been working for 7 years. Recently, my boyfriend of 4 years popped the question I've been waiting for. Now, I'm knee-deep in planning our wedding and honeymoon. I met my husband after I started working. I've always been more on the quiet side, and although I had a boyfriend in college, things just didn't work out. After that, I didn't really date anyone seriously for a while. So when I started working, it was a big surprise to find myself getting married before many of my colleagues. I think I was even more shocked than anyone else. My husband was a senior at the company when I first joined, and he was always there to help me when I struggled with new tasks. Even though the only guy I dated before him was a classmate, there was something different about someone who was 5 years older. I found him reliable and trustworthy. When he asked me out on our first date, I was ecstatic. I still hold dear the dolphin figurine we bought at the aquarium during that date. When he mentioned wanting to date with marriage in mind, I felt like I was on cloud 9. We went on many dates, and he proposed to me at that same aquarium where we had our first date. Could I really be this happy? That night, I was so excited that I couldn't sleep, and I still remember that feeling vividly. With my mind still filled with happiness, we quickly decided to visit his parents' home the next week. But during the visit, I started feeling unsure about our marriage. My father-in-law was nice, but my mother-in-law didn't seem to like me much. She even said, "You could have married someone more impressive than this ordinary girl." Hearing that made me doubt our future together and feel really anxious. But I figured everyone gets nervous before their wedding, right? So I pretended everything was okay and continued planning for the wedding. Then one day, while talking about our life after marriage, both my husband and his mom just assumed I quit my job. Even though I used to think quitting work after getting married was nice, I didn't see it as an option now. Looking back, I think my worries about marriage stopped me from considering leaving my job, where I felt safe. Even though my mother-in-law kept suggesting I quit, I decided to keep working at the same company as my husband, ignoring her. During our wedding planning, we didn't see eye to eye on when to officially register our marriage. He wanted to do it sooner, but we decided to go with his choice and did it shortly after. The process was pretty ordinary, but knowing we were officially married made me really happy. We talked about having a small, cozy wedding, but it seems he mentioned this to his mom. She called the next day. "You're planning a small wedding for Edward. Please don't make decisions without considering everyone's opinion. The wedding should be big and fancy. I'll make sure it's what Edward wants. And please keep your guest list short, just your parents and close friends. Your friends wouldn't add much excitement to the wedding anyway." I was overwhelmed with all the opinions flying around about the venue and guest list. It was frustrating that my soon-to-be mother-in-law thought she could control everything. But I didn't want to argue with her. Even though I had a lot to say, I kept quiet, thinking maybe this was just how weddings went. I ended up inviting only my parents and close friends, like she wanted. But her interference didn't stop there. She had something to say about everything: the schedule, entertainment, decorations, and food. If we followed all her suggestions, we'd blow our budget. At first, Edward's family agreed to split the wedding costs with us. But then that changed. Suddenly, it was all about the bride's family footing the bill, and we were way over budget. I had to cover all the extra expenses she wanted, so the wedding turned into this flashy event, completely different from the simple ceremony I had envisioned. I tried to make some changes secretly to save money, but she found out and scolded me, saying it looked cheap because I didn't listen to her. After the wedding, I hoped for some distance from my mother-in-law, but then my husband dropped a bombshell. I was tired of her meddling in the wedding plans, and despite knowing I wanted space from her, he insisted we move in with her. Our new place, which we'd already arranged, was suddenly canceled without my knowledge. All our stuff was redirected to my husband's family home. I was speechless, shocked that everything was decided without asking me. I handled all the wedding planning by myself. Even when I warned Edward about going over budget if we followed all of his mom's requests, he ignored me. My anxiety, which was already high, skyrocketed. We had planned to go on a honeymoon abroad after the wedding. It was a dream destination for me, and the thought of it felt unreal. But my growing discomfort with Edward's strange behavior and the idea of living with my mother-in-law when we got back put a damper on my excitement. Just like with the wedding planning, Edward wasn't very helpful with organizing our honeymoon. It was odd that he took charge of booking flights and hotels. I assumed he picked a romantic place for our honeymoon, and I was thrilled. Even though I ended up paying for everything, I was just happy he was pitching in, given all the excitement before the wedding. But I didn't realize this was a sign of things to come. Finally, the wedding was over, and amidst the chaos, our honeymoon day arrived. Despite some lingering doubts about the wedding and moving in with his mom, I was determined to enjoy the trip with Edward. But as I woke up in the middle of the night to get ready for our flight, Edward dropped a bombshell like it was no big deal. "Sarah, I'm going with my mom instead." As I was checking our luggage, I couldn't believe what Edward had just said. "What? What do you mean? This is our honeymoon, not just any trip. Why would your mom be coming? And we only booked for two for the flights and hotel." I was shocked, trying to make sense of it all when Edward dropped another bombshell. "I never said I was going on this trip with you, did I? Don't be ridiculous. I'm going with my mom. A trip with her is more important than our honeymoon. It's a thank you trip for all she's done for me. You stay here and clean the house from top to bottom." With that, Edward started tearing up my passport. I couldn't believe it, unable to speak, just watching as he destroyed it. Right then, my fully dressed mother-in-law barged into the room without even knocking. "Edward, are you ready?" Seeing her, Edward's face lit up. Yeah, we're all set. Finally, we can go on this trip without any interruptions. They both chuckled, leaving me feeling disgusted. It hit me then. I was about to marry a nightmare. I'd been wondering how to get along with my mother-in-law, but this was beyond anything I could have imagined. I realized I'd made a huge mistake from the very beginning. I see now what kind of people you both are. I couldn't hold back. But they just laughed it off as if my words were meaningless. They left together, leaving me feeling betrayed. I had been happy thinking Edward was helping with the honeymoon, but it was just a setup for him to go with his mother. He'd been planning it all along, booking everything under her name and leaving me to foot the bill. The betrayal stung, but my anger outweighed my sadness. The wedding and honeymoon I had always dreamed of were supposed to be unforgettable moments with the love of my life. But they were ruined by my mother-in-law and husband. It felt surreal. At first, I couldn't believe it was happening. But soon, I realized I needed to take action fast. I had to get a divorce. Interestingly, I had something that could help me. I had started recording to capture memories of the most important events in my life. My wedding and honeymoon. Since the wedding preparations, I had been recording various moments on audio. What began as a way to cherish memories slowly turned into documenting my mother-in-law's hurtful actions and harassment. Sometimes I thought about stopping because I figured I'd never listen to these recordings again. But it's ironic how valuable they turned out to be. Just days after moving in, I found myself repacking my things. It didn't take long since I hadn't unpacked much. I couldn't help but wonder if my husband and his mother were already at the airport. The thought made me furious, so I tried to push it aside. Even though I'd only been there briefly, I wanted to erase any trace of myself from that house. So I cleaned thoroughly everywhere I'd been. While tidying the living room, I stumbled upon something shocking. Evidence that my husband was stealing money from his company. In his role overseeing sales, he was reporting lower earnings to the company and keeping the extra cash for himself. And it seemed his mother was involved too. She had detailed notes of the actual sales, the money he pocketed, and even listed all the luxury items he bought her with the stolen money. It was a lot. I couldn't believe they'd left such evidence out in the open. Finding out about my husband's wrongdoing left me horrified. I realized the seriousness of the situation. For a moment, I thought about trying to smooth things over since I also worked at the company. But then I thought, why should I help someone who ditched me for a honeymoon with his mother? So, armed with evidence of the embezzlement, I went to the company. Even though they were supposed to be on their honeymoon, my colleagues were shocked to see me in the office. As everyone bombarded me with questions about why I was at work instead of on my honeymoon, I decided I had nothing to hide. I explained that my husband and mother-in-law had gone on the honeymoon instead, that my passport was destroyed, and that I had paid for the entire trip. My colleagues, bosses, and superiors were shocked and furious on my behalf. I thanked them for their concern and headed to the executive area of the company. What my colleagues didn't know was that one of the top executives at the company is my uncle. I never mentioned this to anyone, not even my husband or mother-in-law. I didn't want people to think I got the job because of family connections, so I applied and secured the position based on my own merit. Since my uncle isn't involved in human resources, I asked him not to reveal our relationship before the orientation. Though surprised, he respected my decision and assured me that we would maintain a professional relationship at work. As a child, my uncle treated me like his own, showering me with love and indulging my wishes. We even went on trips together when I was younger. Despite my parents scolding me for asking him to buy me things, he adored me. Since joining the company, our paths rarely crossed except for a brief exchange during orientation. When I visited his office, my uncle's warm smile quickly faded as he sensed something was wrong. "Why are you here? Weren't you supposed to be on your honeymoon?" Seeing his familiar face, I couldn't hold back my tears. Through sobs, I told him everything that had happened. He was visibly furious, a side of him I had never seen before. I explained my husband's embezzlement and handed over the evidence. My uncle promised to hold a board meeting immediately to address the situation. After promising to address the situation, my uncle asked about my plans for the day. When I mentioned heading home, he suggested we grab some food together before he dropped me off. Despite the unbelievable betrayal I had experienced, I felt genuinely grateful for the warm-hearted people in my life who cared for me. A week later, when my husband and mother-in-law returned from what was supposed to be our honeymoon, I received an immediate call. My husband was furious that I hadn't picked them up from the airport or cleaned the house as instructed. He demanded to know where I was. With the support of my uncle and parents, I had already hired a top-notch divorce lawyer, and the process was underway. Without giving my husband a chance to speak, I said firmly, "You two are loud and annoying. I don't want to hear your voices anymore. Why would I pick up someone I'm divorcing? And why would I follow your orders to clean?" He was momentarily stunned but quickly resumed his ranting. "Do you think it's okay to speak to me like that? I did you a favor by marrying you. If I divorce you, you'll never find someone else. My mom's furious too. If you come back now and cook for us, I might forgive you. We're tired of foreign food. Make us some traditional meals." His words were shocking. After his scheme with the passport and going on a trip with his mother, I saw his true colors. It dawned on me that I had never truly known him. I had been reflecting on this realization for the past few days. "I've already consulted a lawyer about our divorce. Please discuss any related matters with them." "Divorce? What are you talking about? We're not getting a divorce." I heard his mother in the background, shouting for him to hand her the phone and calling me names. "Well, do as you please. By the way, I informed the company about your embezzlement. I think I'll be calling you in soon. Maybe you should get a lawyer too. Bye." I sensed his panic on the other end, but it wasn't my problem anymore. He kept calling, so I just blocked his number. My uncle knew our honeymoon dates, so right after our call, the company summoned my husband. With the evidence I provided, they verified the information and confirmed the discrepancies in the payments. It turned out the amount my husband embezzled was huge. In front of the company's executives, my husband desperately tried to defend himself. He made up a story claiming I was the real embezzler and he had tried to stop me. At that point, my uncle couldn't hold back and shouted, "My niece would never do such a thing. We've confirmed that you and your mother committed the embezzlement. You're lucky we haven't involved the police yet." Realizing his scheme had unraveled and that I had connections in senior management, my husband looked defeated. That day, I went to the company to return the wedding gifts to my colleagues. Despite our marriage ending so soon after the wedding, they all refused to take them back, saying they were given with heartfelt blessings. Surrounded by their warmth, my husband approached me, looking desperate. "Why didn't you tell me about your family connection? I'm sorry, truly. Can we start over? Can you ask your uncle to let me stay in the company and make the embezzlement charges disappear?" Disgusted, I replied. "Do you even hear yourself? Are you serious? Divorce is the only way forward now. Reflect on your actions and face the consequences." After I pushed him away, my colleagues intervened and called security, who removed him from the premises. He was immediately fired. As for the embezzlement, the company is pursuing damages from him. Upon learning about the situation, my mother-in-law attempted to contact my family repeatedly. However, after consulting my sensible father-in-law, the calls ceased. I had always wondered why my father-in-law had agreed to our honeymoon, but when he came to apologize later, admitting his mistake, it became clear. He had believed my mother-in-law was going on a domestic trip with her friends. He was looking forward to a peaceful week without her constant demands and nagging about shopping and dining out, hoping for a brief respite. When I returned home after learning about the ridiculous actions of my husband and mother-in-law, my father-in-law agreed that I should go back to my parents' home and helped me pack. Emotions were running high, and without much discussion, I left for my family home. I knew my father-in-law, being genuine, kind, and rational, would have stopped everything if he had known. He was the only reasonable person I could trust in that house. Although I was the victim, it was incredibly embarrassing to think my honeymoon had been hijacked by my mother-in-law. I even considered resigning from my job. My parents advised me to take a break from work for a while. However, my uncle suggested that working might help distract me, and he discussed it with the CEO. They arranged for me to be transferred to a branch office. The divorce process with my husband went surprisingly smoothly, thanks to an excellent lawyer. However, I later found out my father-in-law was involved. When we were planning our wedding and discussing expenses, it turned out my husband had almost no savings. My in-laws were just an average working-class family. With my mother-in-law's spending habits, they had little savings, as my father-in-law mentioned with a wry smile. The alimony I received considering our short marriage was surprisingly substantial. Shockingly, my father-in-law sold the family home to cover it. Their home wasn't in a city center, but in a close-knit community. When we got married, my mother-in-law invited the neighbors. They witnessed me returning to the family home on the day I was supposed to be leaving for our honeymoon, luggage in hand. With the neighborhood's penchant for gossip, rumors spread like wildfire. Over time, these rumors became exaggerated to the point where living in that area became unbearable. Initially, my mother-in-law, always concerned about appearances, approved of our marriage because both my husband and I worked for prestigious companies. Having her son and daughter-in-law working for a major company was a status symbol for her. However, with rumors swirling due to her actions, she likely couldn't bear to stay in that house. Additionally, my father-in-law probably felt responsible for covering the damages from my husband's embezzlement. While I harbor nothing but disdain for both my husband and mother-in-law, I genuinely feel sorry for my father-in-law. After being fired and ordered to pay damages, my husband apparently suffered a mental breakdown. Unable to work, he's been moping around in a small apartment he moved to. Seeing her son so downcast, my mother-in-law also became reclusive, as my father-in-law told me. In fact, my father-in-law, fed up with my mother-in-law, was considering divorce as he didn't want to spend his later years with her. He asked if I could introduce him to the lawyer I had used. I immediately contacted my uncle, who got in touch with the lawyer. It might take some time, but I hope my father-in-law can live the life he wishes. Thanks to the intervention of the company's CEO and my uncle, I was transferred to a branch office where I'm surrounded by supportive colleagues and superiors. I'm eternally grateful to my uncle. The only regret I have is missing out on the country we plan to visit for our honeymoon. Once things settle down, I hope to take a relaxed trip abroad. It's like you're not wanted here. You should go. Even though my brother said mean things to me, my sister-in-law sitting next to me quietly squinted her eyes and smiled, enjoying my surprised face. When I looked at our mother, who I lived with for a long time, she sadly said, "Living with your brother and his wife, who went to a really good university and works at a top company, seems better than living with you, Linda. You always stay inside the house," she said calmly. My mother, sister-in-law, and brother didn't seem to realize how much I've helped with money and worked for our family. Even though it hurt, I said, "Okay, I'll go. Don't ask me for help again," and started packing my things. She watched me and sarcastically said with a smug smile, "Giving up so easily, Linda? But nobody knows who will have a harder time in the future. Ignoring this could cause problems. My name's Linda, and I've done really well with online businesses. My journey here was unexpected. Back in university, I thought I'd end up with a regular job at a typical company, but something changed everything during my second year. My dad got sick and needed someone to take care of him every day. My mom wasn't great at housework, so we hired caregivers. But they couldn't be there all the time, so my mom had to step in. Sometimes she ignored my dad's needs, telling him to wait. I had to help him out whenever this happened. Seeing this made me worry about the future. When I start working, who will take care of my dad? I couldn't rely on my mom alone. So I started looking into ways to make money from home. I studied online business stuff during university, using what I learned in economics. I teamed up with friends who knew about management and economics, and then with others who were good with computers. That's how we started our online business project. We had a nice office where staff could work if they found it hard to concentrate at home, or for new employees to learn the ropes. But personally, I hardly ever went there. My main workspace is at home, where I can be with my dad. I do most of my work there. One day, my dad asked me if I gave up on a full-time job for him, or if it was hard to find one after graduating. It made me emotional, but I explained how I've been running my online business since college. It's doing well, and I can work from home without any problems. My dad was proud of me and grateful for what I do. He said I've become a responsible adult, which meant a lot to me. I'm actually not the only child responsible for taking care of my father. I have an older brother named Tom, who's 2 years older than me. Tom tends to be selfish and doesn't often think about others. He's always been really smart and did great in school. After he graduated from a top university, he easily got a job at a really good company. When we found out about his job, we were surprised but happy for him. We all tried to reach out to congratulate him, but his response wasn't what we expected. He said he was starting a new life in the city and didn't plan to come back home. He wanted us to believe he was doing well on his own. Then he hung up the phone abruptly. Since that day, we couldn't get in touch with Tom at all. He cut off all communication with us, ignoring our calls and messages. Even though our dad had supported him financially through college and living on his own, Tom never seemed grateful and distanced himself from us. Both my dad and I felt shocked and disappointed by his behavior. We started to wonder if our mom was secretly talking to Tom. But even with Dad's health getting worse and needing care every day, Tom's complete silence showed he didn't care about his responsibilities as part of the family. Then one day we got some unexpected news from Mom. Tom called me out of the blue. He said he's thinking of marrying someone and asked if we could give them a wedding gift. He wants $99,000. Mom told Dad and me about this, looking a bit worried because of our finances. Mom mostly stays home except for her part-time job 3 days a week. She usually spends her salary on lunch and shopping with friends, so she doesn't save much. I was surprised that Mom wanted to give Tom so much money, especially since we hadn't heard from him in a long time. Dad was first calm but then got really mad. Why should we give him all that money when he hasn't even talked to us since he left home? He was upset with Mom, who looked unhappy and glanced at me for support. Mom tried to explain, but think about it, Tom's getting married. I want him to have a good life and maybe even give us grandchildren. It's what parents want. Please understand, she said calmly. The main reason I didn't go for a regular job was because of Mom, so it hurt to hear her say those things. Dad was also upset with Mom. Linda stays home to take care of me because you didn't help enough. I've supported Tom a lot, but he's never thanked me. How can you ask for such a big gift for him? That day, there were loud arguments between Mom and Dad. I listened from the next room, worried about Dad's health. Mom always favored my brother and praised him, but she didn't understand why I stayed home to care for Dad. It made me really sad. After Mom left to go out for dinner, Dad said to me, "Linda, thank you for always being here for me." "It's okay, Dad. I've known for a long time that Mom favors Tom. I'm used to it. I know I've asked a lot of you. I wish I could do more to help you. Dad, you've done so much for me. You've supported my education and always encouraged me. If it wasn't for you, I might not have started my online business." My father's smile brought me some comfort, but I couldn't understand why Mom, who had such a caring father, acted so selfishly. And my brother, who hadn't talked to us for years, suddenly asking for a big wedding gift was hard to swallow. But the most shocking thing happened shortly after. One morning, I found my father wasn't moving. I called an ambulance, but it was too late. He had passed away. Many people came to his funeral to pay their respects, showing how loved he was. Normally, the wife would arrange the funeral, but Mom said she was too busy and left it all to me. She was always on her phone, seeming more concerned about that than about Dad's passing. I felt angry and unsupported. I focused on arranging the funeral to give Dad a proper send-off. Then something surprising happened. My brother showed up at the funeral with a woman in a flashy dress. He was dressed casually, which wasn't right for the occasion. Everyone was shocked, but Mom greeted him with a smile. "I'm glad you're here, Tom. Now your father's inheritance will be ours," Mom boldly stated. The atmosphere in the hall changed completely after Mom's sudden statement. Everyone was shocked and confused. Honestly, I don't think Linda should expect any inheritance. She's been at home taking care of Dad, Tom said loudly with a hint of sarcasm. I was surprised and sighed deeply. He must have known about our family situation and Dad's health from Mom. But Mom seemed to ignore the fact that I contributed a lot to our family's finances and whether there was actually any inheritance from Dad, who needed care. Dad used to have a good job, but making such comments at a funeral was disrespectful. The funeral felt gloomy and tense. "Should we leave now, Tom? We'll get the inheritance anyway," Mom said, pulling on his arm. As soon as I saw the woman with my brother, I knew she was his wife. She had a similar vibe to Tom, and I figured she must have a personality like his to marry him. I wished they would leave soon. Surprisingly, even Mom seemed to agree with them. "Shall we go get sushi?" she said, and the three of them left. Other relatives were also surprised. Some spoke out in shock, but I suggested, "Let's stay composed for Dad's sake." I kept my irritation to myself and carried on with the funeral. Returning home, I found a messy dining table with 3 boxes of sushi, likely ordered for delivery. From the living room came the sound of voices and laughter. Mom, Tom, and his wife Jessica were having a good time, drinking. "Hey, you're late, Linda. Can you make some snacks and grab more alcohol?" my brother asked. I was shocked by their insensitivity, especially during Dad's funeral. It seemed they didn't realize their behavior was wrong, even with the shocked looks from other relatives. Mom, who should have corrected them, was joining in their laughter, making me feel justified in staying. I wondered if they would have even bothered with a proper funeral if I wasn't there. So I told them, "There's no inheritance for you." I refused to get more drinks or snacks for them. Tom, now drunk, got upset. "What do you mean, Linda? You've always been at home, causing trouble for Dad. It's only fair we use his assets." Considering that Tom relied on Dad for all his college expenses, I couldn't understand why he felt entitled to Dad's assets. It frustrated me to see him act like he didn't owe Dad anything. "Isn't this house Dad's?" Tom asked. "As the eldest son, it should be mine. Why is Linda, who does nothing all day, living here?" Mom and Tom seemed to agree. The warmth Mom used to have for me was gone. "This house is mine," Tom said firmly. "I want Linda out." His wife didn't seem bothered by this. Mom spoke next. "I feel more comfortable living with my son and his wife, who have done well in life, than with you, Linda." They didn't realize how much I contributed to the house. I felt sad and disappointed. I sighed and decided to speak up. "I'll leave. Please don't ask anything of me anymore." As I packed my things in my room, I heard my sister-in-law mocking me. "She's really poor, don't you think?" They all laughed at me, but I just smiled bitterly to myself. Yes, right now, I might seem like the most miserable one. But there's something they don't know. This house has been legally mine since Dad was alive. He entrusted it to me. Even though Mom still lives here and might say she spent most of her life here, legally, it's mine. However, seeing her cold behavior during Dad's funeral made me think about what to do with the house. I felt tired of our relationship and saw her presence as a burden. Living alone in this big house would be lonely, and maintaining it would be hard, so I decided to sell it. Seeing Mom and my brother's family enjoying my situation without knowing my decision made me feel pity for them. Expecting inheritance from Dad seems ridiculous to me. Before my mom got sick, she had a stable income. But when her health declined, she couldn't work anymore. So she used her savings to hire someone to help her every day. She spent her savings on daily expenses, and even when Dad got sick and needed more care, Mom kept spending like usual, so her savings dwindled. When I realized Dad's savings were gone, I started giving $3,000 each month to help with household expenses. Mom did the housework but wasn't good at managing money. When Mom went shopping, she often bought expensive things impulsively, even if we didn't need them. She didn't pay attention to sales or budgeting. She used the money she earned from her part-time job for her hobbies and fun stuff. She also took more money than needed for daily expenses to enjoy herself. Dad felt bad about it. In the end, the money he saved was spent by Mom. As I prepared to leave the house, I withdrew all the money I had been giving for household expenses. I couldn't bear to let my mom keep using it. The next day, something unexpected happened. "Did you take the household money, Linda?" Mom's voice came through the phone one quiet morning. She sounded surprised and a bit upset. "Mom, what household money?" "Dad's savings. Those were all gone when I checked." "Did you forget that you used them up?" I left the ledger on the table. "It shows how you kept taking money from Dad's savings. Dad knew about it too. After his savings ran out, I was the one giving $3,000 every month to support the house." I heard Mom rushing around, probably looking for the ledger I mentioned. Then I heard the living room door open. "Mom, what's going on? Wasn't there supposed to be inheritance after Dad passed? Did you use it all?" My brother sounded angry and disappointed. His wife's voice echoed in the background. "I can't believe this, Mom. Did you really call us back home expecting us to support you financially? That's really harsh." "No, that's not what I meant." It was clear Mom had called them back because of the inheritance. Hearing this, I knew they wouldn't trust her anymore. "We left our stable jobs to come here, expecting to get Dad's inheritance. How are we supposed to live now?" "What, Tom? I didn't know you made such a big decision." This was all news to me too. My brother used to have a good job, but I wasn't really bothered by their decision because it didn't affect me directly. "And what about the $2,700 you've been getting every month?" My brother asked. "Mom, you kept saying Linda wasn't working, right?" Mom suddenly looked at me with shock and guilt. "What? Linda? What's going on?" she asked. I smiled a little and said, "You should look into remote work. These days, you can have a job without leaving home." I never told them about my successful online business. I knew if they knew, they'd start relying on me. Worse, they might interfere with my business. Please come back. Let's be a family again. Mom's voice was small, as if she hadn't blamed me at all. But I had no intention of going back. Mom, you just want to rely on my money, right? And about the house. While Dad was alive, I took over ownership because of the property taxes. It's mine now. I don't plan to live there anymore, so I asked my uncle, who runs a real estate agency, to sell it. He was really mad about what happened at Dad's funeral, so if my brother and his family stay there, he'll kick them out. Losing our home was something I never imagined. Mom sounded shocked, and I could hear my brother's voice on the phone asking, "What's going on?" Feeling too overwhelmed to answer my brother's question, I decided to leave everything to Uncle. He promised to handle things and explain everything to Mom and my brother's family, so I trusted him. Goodbye, I'm cutting ties with you and Mom. I won't be using this phone anymore. Farewell. With that, I ended the call. I imagined their surprise and felt a brief sadness. It would be hard for them to find me. I had plans to move abroad, a dream I never shared, not even with Dad. I always wanted to live in a warm, tropical country with a diverse culture. When Mom and my brother's family asked me to leave the house after Dad died, I saw it as the perfect chance to make my dream come true. After being evicted from the house, I immediately started packing and searching for a place abroad. I wanted somewhere quiet near the beach, so I focused on finding the perfect spot. Now I'm living alone in a short-term rental apartment close to the city center with good transportation links, which is great for getting ready for my move abroad. With my brother, his wife, and Mom busy looking for a new place to live after the eviction, they probably haven't had time to think about me. By the time I heard they were cramped in a small apartment, taking up part-time jobs to get by, I was already settling into my new life abroad. My uncle hired a detective agency to discreetly monitor them. They found out my family was struggling financially, still spending beyond their means and even borrowing money from risky lenders. If things continue like this, they might face even more trouble with debt collectors. I've cut ties with them and avoided getting involved. It's unlikely I'll ever see them again after everything that's happened. Nadia, you're being lazy again. Oops. It's Kelly. I try to get up, but my body won't move. The door slides open, and Kelly comes in, sounding angry. Why are you taking a break? Just because you're a daughter-in-law? Kelly comes over to me and does something shocking. She takes away the cushion I'm sitting on. What? I fall back on the floor as she takes the cushion. I quickly cover my stomach with my hands but feel a sharp pain. It seems Kelly kicked me in the belly when I fell. Get up already. With that annoying belly, I should give you another one. I felt hopeless, but someone was watching. They made Kelly sit down and scolded her. Because of that person, I was saved. My name is Nadia. I'm 30 years old and I'm pregnant. Even though I have some health problems because of the pregnancy, the happiness of carrying the baby of the person I love keeps me strong. Nadia, are you okay? If you feel bad, tell me. Yeah, thanks. We're heading to my parents' house to share the news about the baby. Tom's driving, keeping an eye on me. I told Tom first about the pregnancy. When I shared it after his work, he was exhausted but thrilled. Whether it's a boy or a girl, all that matters is a healthy baby, he said, getting emotional, which made me tear up. I wondered if the people we're going to tell will be as happy. Are you feeling nervous? A little, I admit. Tom smiles at me, and I manage a faint smile back. If we were telling my biological parents, maybe I wouldn't be so anxious. It's a bit complicated. I lost my mom when I was young. Since then, my dad has been raising my brother and me alone. It must have been really tough. I love my dad a lot. When my brother moved out after getting married, and it was my turn, I worried about leaving my father alone. Dad, want to live together. After discussing it with Tom, I proposed this to my father, but his reply surprised me. You know, I've been thinking of remarrying. It turned out he had been close to a woman for a while, so I gained a new mother. When we arrived at my parents' house, my new mother welcomed us. Hello, welcome. Mom, it's been a while. Even though I call her Mom, it feels strange every time. She became my mother after I moved out, so I've hardly spent time with her. Unlike my easygoing father, she always seems strict. Simply put, she's not easy to get along with. Today I have something I want you all to hear. Beside my father sat my new mother, and beside me Tom. After we all gathered in the living room, I nervously shared my news. Oh, what is it? Well, it's still early, but I'm pregnant. Really? Congratulations, that's wonderful. My dad's face lit up with joy, his usual laugh lines showing. I'm going to be a grandpa. Looks like it's time for me to start feeling old. I can't wait to be a dad. I'm so thrilled. While Tom and my dad chatted happily, I quietly watched my mom's reaction. She didn't show much expression, hard to figure out. What was she thinking? Just as I wondered, she got up and left the room. Should I go after her? I hesitated, but she quickly returned. She had a thin blanket and a cushion in her hands. Nadia, use these. This room can get chilly. Oh, thank you. I felt a bit happy realizing she was worried about me, but my mom always seemed stern. Was it her cold, serious manner that made her hard to approach? A simple congratulations would have meant a lot to me. Maybe then we could have become closer. I was lost in these hopeful thoughts. We planned to leave right after sharing the news, but my brother and his wife, Kelly, dropped by, changing our plans. Tom and I live about an hour's drive from my parents' house, while my brother and Kelly are just a 5-minute drive away. They often visit on days off like today. It was an unexpected meeting, but a good chance to share my pregnancy news. No way. Ah, you beat me to it. That's too bad, my brother joked, pretending to be disappointed. Kelly lightly tapped his head. What are you saying? First, congrats. Congratulations, Nadia. Thank you. Kelly had a vibe similar to my mom's, direct and kind, but a bit intimidating. Honestly, I'm envious. We've been trying with no luck. Just getting older over here. At this rate, we'll be old before we know it. I'm only 2 years younger than you. Thanks for trying to cheer me up. Kelly often made self-deprecating comments like this. I always find it tough to respond in these moments. Well, we should probably head out, Tom. Yeah, let's go. As we were getting ready to leave, my parents and my brother's family offered to walk us out. Feeling a bit dizzy, maybe from the pregnancy or just the tension, I needed to be careful not to fall. I was holding onto the handrail for safety when suddenly I felt a heavy impact on my right shoulder from behind. Ouch! I nearly stumbled but managed to stay upright thanks to the handrail. Sorry, Nadia. I tripped and accidentally bumped into you. Are you okay? Yes, I'm fine. It was Kelly who had bumped into me. Tripped? But we were just walking down a straight hallway. Can that really happen? Normally, wouldn't you grab the handrail or the person next to you if you were about to fall? Why would she bump into me knowing I was pregnant? A chill ran down my spine, feeling uneasy. Sorry. Oh, you don't think I did it on purpose, do you? Don't look at me like that. It's okay. I'm fine. I couldn't accuse her without proof. Maybe it was just an accident. With that, we left my parents' house without saying anything else. After getting home, I took some time to think. Maybe I'm being a bit oversensitive because of the pregnancy. I've always gotten along okay with Kelly. There are things about her that I find difficult, but we've never really had a problem. I'm sure that feeling of malice I sensed was just in my head. I tried to convince myself of that. But after that, I started encountering strange things more often, and with each incident my distrust towards Kelly grew. The first odd thing was about my personal belongings left at my parents' house. It turns out they were somehow thrown out in the garbage. It was my mom who contacted me. I found some clothes that looked familiar in the trash. I picked them up, but what do you want to do with them? Can you leave them as they are? I'd like to check them later. When Tom and I went to check, they were indeed my belongings. Both my mom and dad said they would go into my room, but they wouldn't throw anything away without asking. So who did? Well, the day before the garbage day, Kelly came over to visit. Oddly enough, she was alone. My heart raced as previous incidents came flooding back. My mom looked at me silently, then said something as if she had sensed something. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. It's not good to suspect without proof. But maybe you should ask. What will you do? What can I do? It bothered me, but I didn't want to stir up unnecessary trouble. It's okay, she probably just came over to visit. All right then. For a while, everything was calm. Thankfully, my pregnancy was progressing smoothly, and the baby was growing healthy. Before I knew it, I was already 8 months along. By this point, I had reached a stable phase of the pregnancy, and my physical condition had improved. Since I hadn't seen Kelly in a while, there were no more issues. Then one day, my dad invited us over, saying, Why don't you and Tom come over on your next day off? He chose a day when there was a big festival near our parents' house. Every year, we gather at our parents' house for this festival. It's a lively celebration with all our relatives. When I told them about your pregnancy, everyone was thrilled. They said they'd love to see you, but of course, your health comes first. Standing for long periods was challenging with my growing belly, but otherwise I was doing well. I think we'll go. Yay, everyone will be really happy. With Tom saying yes, we went to visit my parents' house after a long time. Hi there, Nadia. Congratulations. You've grown a lot. Your baby is going to be strong and healthy. Every family member I saw said congrats. Some of them I only see on special days like this. I felt really happy and ended up moving around more than I should have. Nadia, are you moving too much? Is your belly feeling tight? My mom noticed it first. I hadn't even realized my belly was tight. Oh, you're right. It does feel a bit tight. Please take care. You're going to be this child's mom, Mom said firmly, then held my hand and guided me to another room. There was a mattress in there. Take a rest for a little while. Thank you. I could still hear everyone's voices from the nearby room. Lying down, I realized I was more tired than I thought. I felt like I could fall asleep right there. As my head started feeling fuzzy and I began to drift off, I felt a gentle tap on my head. When I opened my eyes, there was Kelly with a serious expression. Hey, what are you doing here? Everyone came to see Nadia, didn't they? It's kind of selfish to sleep. Come on, get up. Without waiting for me to respond, Kelly pulled me back out to where the relatives were. Oh, Nadia, where were you? Surrounded by everyone, I couldn't say I needed rest. So I just joined the conversation, forcing a smile. But as I stood and moved around, I could feel my belly tightening again. It wasn't good. I tried to leave a few times, but Kelly stopped me each time. Seriously, you always try to be alone. Do you dislike everyone that much? Accused like this, I couldn't leave. I stayed as long as I could, but when Kelly went to the bathroom, I finally sneaked away to another room. I really wanted to lie down, but I couldn't take the risk. I didn't know when Kelly might come back. Struggling to keep steady, I managed to sit down on a cushion I brought from the other room. I let out a quiet sigh. Honestly, lying down was all I wanted. But I couldn't risk Kelly finding me. She'd been subtly criticizing me since earlier. This place felt like a battleground. I couldn't relax for a moment, stay strong. But despite my efforts, my belly kept tightening. It wasn't painful, but it felt hard. I was only 8 months pregnant, not ready to give birth yet. I didn't want to stress the baby more. But if I rested, who knows what Kelly might say about me? When should I move? What should I do? While I sat there, holding my belly, worrying. Nadia, slacking off again. Darn it. It's Kelly. I tried to stand up, but I couldn't move. With the sound of the sliding door opening, Kelly entered, her voice full of anger. Why are you resting? Just because you're the daughter-in-law? Kelly marched aggressively towards me. But here, in this house, I'm treated like a daughter, not just a daughter-in-law. That's what I believed. But then she did something unbelievable. She grabbed the cushion I was sitting on. The force made me fall back onto the mat. Instinctively, I protected my stomach with my hands, but then felt a heavy impact on them. It was Kelly's foot. She had kicked towards my stomach as I fell. Luckily, her foot hit my hands first, lessening the impact on my belly. Get up already with that annoying belly. Need me to give you another one? She didn't seem to care anymore. I knew I needed to get up quickly, but my heavy belly and the shock slowed me down. You're too slow. As I was on all fours, Kelly raised her foot again. Stop. I couldn't react in time. I curled up tightly, bracing myself. And then it happened. Stop. A loud, commanding voice filled the room. I looked towards the voice and saw my mother standing there, her expression fierce. Don't move, understand? My mother quickly walked over and crouched next to me. Mom, how's your belly? Did you hit your head? Are you okay? Any pain? Mom checked me over, her brows furrowed with concern. I'm okay, just scraped my leg a bit. Nothing serious. Let me see. But it's just a small. Just let me see. I extended my right leg as she asked. It wasn't a big deal. When I fell, I couldn't protect myself properly because I was shielding my belly, so I just scraped my knee. It was a bit raw, but not serious. I was relieved that the baby was okay, but seeing my red knee, Mom's frown deepened. It looks sore. We need to clean it. It's really not a big deal. Don't downplay it. Your body matters. Mom turned around and shot a sharp glare at Kelly. Kelly, sit down over there. It's not what you think. I was just trying to. Just sit down. Kelly, ordered firmly by my mom, sat down looking pale. Mom took a deep breath and shouted even louder. This is ridiculous. The room felt tense. Startled, Kelly shrieked and flinched. Kelly, do you understand what you've done? It's not like that. I was just trying to fix the cushion, and Nadia fell over. Right, Nadia? I was fixing it? Kelly tried to justify herself. That's not true, Kelly, I replied after a moment. You clearly pulled it out. And why would anyone need to fix a cushion someone's sitting on? It doesn't make sense, and it's not necessary. Yeah, exactly. I didn't expect Nadia to fall like that. It really surprised me. Kelly nodded vigorously. There was no sign of remorse or concern in her expression. It was like she was insisting she did nothing wrong. It felt like she blamed me for being clumsy. I could almost hear her thoughts. She was trying to get away with it, but I knew she did it on purpose. At that moment, I was terrified, not just for myself, but for the baby inside me. I shuddered at the thought of what could have happened if I hadn't shielded my belly. If she had kicked me directly, it would have been horrifying. I wanted to confront Kelly, but the words wouldn't come out. Seeing my struggle, Kelly smirked. Look, it seems Nadia doesn't have anything else to say, so let's drop this topic. We're running out of drinks anyway, and I should go check on everyone. Kelly stood up quickly, her smug demeanor from earlier now serving as an excuse to leave. Mom watched silently. She's going to get away with it. I have to speak up. After everything that happened, after risking my baby's safety, I couldn't just stay quiet. In my panic and confusion, I managed to blurt out. You kicked me. Kelly turned back, looking startled. What are you talking about, Nadia? You kicked me, Kelly. Whether pulling the cushion was on purpose or not, I don't know, but you aimed for my belly. Wait, Nadia. Kelly started to come towards me, flustered. Stay calm. There must be a misunderstanding. I am calm. It's not a misunderstanding. You definitely kicked me. If Mom hadn't intervened, you would have done it again. I would never do that. Shut up. Just be quiet. Kelly reached out to cover my mouth. I almost stumbled, but Mom quickly supported me. Calm down. Mom looked sharply at Kelly. Kelly, seeming weakened by Mom's gaze, froze and stepped back. When Mom calmly said, sit down, Kelly reluctantly returned to her chair. I've been listening quietly to both sides, but I never expected it to come to this. Please believe me, Nadia must be getting overly sensitive because of her pregnancy. She's imagining things. Kelly burst into tears. Not only was she good at manipulating words, but she also knew how to play the emotional card. Meanwhile, I had no proof and struggled to defend myself. When I got emotional, it became even harder to speak up. Would I just lose to Kelly's accusations and end up crying myself to sleep again? Is this going to be my life from now on? Tears welled up, and I looked down. Then I felt a strong movement in my belly. It felt like the baby inside was urging me on. Right, I'm going to be a mother. I can't let someone like her have her way. Wiping away my tears, I straightened up and faced forward. I may be extra cautious for the sake of my precious child, but this is not imagination. Kelly, you did kick my belly. Kelly looked at me, eyes wide. Ignoring her reaction, I continued. And it's not just that. You've been unkind to me multiple times. You threw away my clothes, bumped into me, and today you didn't let me rest. It was terrible. And then your actions earlier. If you call all that imagination, then you're just shameless. After I finished speaking, I took a deep breath, and Kelly glared at me, her face turning red. Do you even know what you're saying? Do you think yelling will shut me up? Maybe in the past, but not anymore. I gently stroked my belly and locked eyes with Kelly. For the sake of this child, I won't let myself be beaten by someone who's just good at talking and being loud. I won't be defeated by a bully. What did you just say? Kelly's anger flared, her nostrils twitching as if she was ready to explode. But I wasn't afraid. I couldn't stay silent any longer. Come at me if you dare. I braced myself for a confrontation, ready for whatever might come next. But then something unexpected happened. My mom burst into laughter. Both Kelly and I froze in surprise. Mom finally composed herself after a deep breath. A cornered mouse will bite the cat, as they say, she murmured, then cleared her throat and looked between Kelly and me. Kelly, do you have anything else to add? You can't possibly believe what she's saying. It's all nonsense. Is that so? But you know, Kelly, I only believe what I see with my own eyes. Then Mom repeated the words Kelly had used when she snatched away the cushion. You were just resting, being a daughter-in-law, right? Why would Mom know those words? I saw everything from the beginning. I was so shocked I could hardly breathe. I couldn't believe what I was seeing and couldn't move immediately. I'm sorry for frightening you, Nadia. Mom murmured an apology, and I quickly waved my hands, saying it wasn't her fault. Mom had seen everything, not just a part of it, but everything. So Kelly had been lying in front of Mom. Realizing the seriousness of the situation, Kelly's face went pale. I had been worried about Kelly's behavior towards you, Nadia, but without evidence and being an old woman, I thought it was inappropriate to interfere. I never expected it to come to this. Even Kelly was speechless. I thought I might need to intervene, but Nadia, you handled it so well. That's what a mother looks like. You did amazing, just like my own daughter. Mom smiled warmly and nodded approvingly. Seeing her gentle expression, I finally relaxed and found myself crying in her comforting embrace. Then Tom, my brother, and Dad were summoned from the other room for an urgent family meeting. After discussing everything, we decided to cut ties with Kelly. Mom would coordinate our visits to ensure we wouldn't run into her. My brother, upon learning the truth, turned pale and kept apologizing to Tom and me. It turned out Kelly's behavior stemmed from jealousy. She was upset that I was pregnant while she couldn't conceive. I couldn't forgive her, but I did feel some sympathy. Later on, I gave birth safely. Tom cried tears of joy and stayed by my side at the hospital every day. He quickly adapted to taking care of everything except breastfeeding. Though the journey was tough until the birth, I knew the real challenge was just beginning. Mom and I grew much closer after that incident. I felt the love and support of everyone around me. With their help, I'm determined to raise our baby well. Several years ago, I got married, and with my husband came my sister-in-law, Sophia. I hoped we could get along well, but it felt like I was the only one who wanted that. Sophia didn't seem interested in getting closer to me. Instead, she often acted like she was better than me and only cared about my money. One day, Sophia's true feelings came out during a phone call. She said coldly, "If you're looking for your bank book, forget it. I have it." Why are you surprised? Isn't your money basically mine too? So even if I spend it all, it shouldn't be a problem. I was frustrated and replied, "My money is mine. It's not yours." She just laughed and said, "Do you really believe that? That's funny." Since that incident, I believed that making peace with Sophia was impossible, and I started thinking of ways to get back at her. When I was ready to put my plan into action, my sister-in-law smugly said, "Once you marry into our family, isn't it natural to think everything you have now belongs to the family?" I was shocked and could only mumble, "That's not true." Actually, I had already bought a new car using the money from the bank account. Instead of withdrawing a large amount at once, which would raise suspicions, I carefully withdrew $3,000 multiple times using an ATM. There was no money left in the account, so Sophia could forget about it. Sophia laughed loudly, clearly feeling victorious. Seeing her in such a good mood, I decided to strike back. "Then I'll give up on the bank book and the money inside it, as you say." "What are you talking about?" she asked, confused. "You told me earlier to forget about the bank book and the money, right?" "Yes, I did. But you're the one who needs to let go. Can you guess why?" "Isn't it obvious? The bank book is in your name. Have you checked whose name is on it?" "Of course it was kept on a shelf in your house, so it must be in your name," Sophia said, sounding irritated. But I didn't back down. Her slip of the tongue was a big advantage for me now. "Sister-in-law, it seems you misunderstood something." Then I started to explain everything slowly and carefully to Sophia. "My name is Emma. Let me take you back to when I married my husband, Lucas. His family runs a metal processing business. His dad is the boss, and his mom handles office work. Lucas works hard as an employee there. It's a pretty big company with many talented people, including Lucas. I really want to support his family's business, but in the midst of all this, I noticed my mother-in-law looking exhausted. I started to wonder if the office workload was overwhelming her. So I decided to ask her directly about her health and how things were going at work. Mom, are you okay? You seem tired. Thank you for asking. Actually, 2 of our office staff recently quit, so I've been handling most of the work by myself, she replied. Wow, that sounds really tough, managing everything alone. I exclaimed, surprised by the workload. As my mother-in-law explained in detail, I learned that the 2 staff members had left because they got married, and finding new people to hire was proving difficult. There also wasn't a clear plan for hiring new staff. So I decided to offer a suggestion. I have experience in administrative work. If there's any way I can help, even a little bit, I'd be happy to support. My mother-in-law's face lit up. That would be incredibly helpful. And don't worry, we'll make sure to compensate you fairly. Thank you so much in advance. After that conversation, I started playing a more active role in my father-in-law's company. My experience in administration came in handy, and my father-in-law was grateful for my help. My husband, Lucas, was always looking out for me. He made sure I wasn't feeling too stressed balancing work and household chores. You only have to help until we hire a new clerk. I don't want you to overwork yourself, Lucas said one day. Thank you, Lucas, but I get along well with your mom, and compared to my previous job, the environment here is much better. So I don't plan on quitting anytime soon, I replied. Lucas respected my decision. Then, one day, my mother-in-law suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, I completely forgot to go to the post office." That's worrying. Would you like me to go for you? I offered kindly, and a smile brightened her face. No need, Emma. I was planning to do some shopping anyway, so I'll go, she said, rushing off. In the short time she was gone, it felt almost planned when my sister-in-law showed up at the office. Hey, Emma, long time no see, Sophia's voice sounded friendly. Sophia, did you need something? Actually, I was just passing by and thought I'd say hi, Sophia said with a sweet smile. I've heard rumors that she's currently working in a restaurant since she doesn't have a full-time job. But I didn't know the details about her current situation. As I was considering asking Sophia about it, she suddenly turned to me. Emma, I'm curious. Are you getting paid for working here? Yes, I do get paid for the administrative work I do, but it's not a lot. I initially wanted to help out without any payment, considering my role in the family. However, my father-in-law suggested that officially hiring me and paying a salary would be better for tax and management reasons, so I went along with it. But the salary I receive is just the minimum for someone new in an admin role, so it's not much. I wasn't sure how much Sophia knew about my salary, but from her attitude, it seemed like she was expecting something. In that case, could you share some of it with me? Sophia asked. Surprised, I asked, do you mean borrow money? That's not what I meant. I want you to give me part of your salary, Sophia demanded. Give you part of my salary? I don't understand. Why would I do that? I replied, trying to understand her intentions. Don't make me repeat myself. Just give it to me now, Sophia insisted, her expression turning serious as she approached me. Then she noticed a small safe on the table. It's in there, isn't it? She asked, reaching for the safe. Panicked, I blurted out, wait, that contains important funds for the company. Company funds? But this is our father's company, right? So technically, that money belongs to him. There shouldn't be a problem with me borrowing some of it, Sophia argued back. But that wasn't the point. I tried to stop her, but Sophia was determined. In the end, she forced open the safe and took out some bills. I'll be taking this, she said. Give it back. How will I explain this to everyone? I pleaded. That's your problem. You'll figure it out. Goodbye, Sophia said, whistling as she left. I stood there in shock, watching her go. I wasn't sure how much she took, but it didn't seem like a lot. I needed to check what was left. I looked at the ledger and then checked the safe. I was short $170. Sophia had taken 2 $50 bills and 3 $10 bills. My heart raced as I checked my wallet, but there were only a few $5 bills. This isn't nearly enough. What do I do? I felt frustrated and desperate. I thought about telling my mother-in-law the truth, but I hesitated because of the potential backlash from Sophia. Fear of revenge stopped me from confessing. With no solutions in sight, my mother-in-law returned from shopping. I'm back, Emma. You look upset. Is everything all right? She asked, showing concern for me. Mother-in-law, there's something I need to tell you. I started preparing myself to reveal what happened. You don't need to apologize. Sophia has caused trouble before. Dealing with her has been tough. I'm sorry she put you through this. I'd appreciate it if the money Sophia took could be deducted from my salary, I said. Don't worry about it. I'll handle it as her mother, but I have a small request for you. She asked me to record Sophia's voice next time she came to the office. The method was simple. Use a smartphone or digital recorder to capture the atmosphere and conversation. But why do we need to record her? I asked. Sophia is an adult now. I believe she needs to face proper consequences for what she did. My mother-in-law said. Indeed, that's true. But to make sure she doesn't repeat her mistakes, we need to show her the significance and impact of her actions. I agreed. After our conversation, I decided to always wear a voice recorder. A week later, while my mother-in-law was out, Sophia showed up at the office again. Hey, how's it going, Emma? She greeted me. Why are you here again? I asked nervously, discreetly starting the voice recorder. I'm a bit short on cash right now, so I thought I'd borrow some from you, she said. I'm definitely not lending you any money, I replied firmly. Why? You lent it to me before, didn't you? Sophia argued. That was you taking it without permission, I reminded her. But you managed to cover for it later, didn't you? She countered. I couldn't admit that I had informed my mother-in-law about what happened. If I did, Sophia would likely leave immediately, and I wouldn't be able to gather the evidence my mother-in-law requested. Thinking carefully about my response, I said, You found a way to fix the situation, didn't you? Can you lend me some money today? That's not possible, I replied firmly. You married into this family, right? As a daughter-in-law, can you go against your in-laws' wishes? Sophia's argument surprised me with its irrationality. Enough with the excuses. Give me the key to the safe. Sophia slammed the desk in anger. Just then, I heard my mother-in-law's footsteps approaching from outside. What are you doing, Sophia? My mother-in-law's voice startled Sophia. Oh, Mom. You haven't found a proper job, and now you're asking for money from your sister-in-law. Aren't you even a bit ashamed? Well. What exactly are you thinking, Sophia? Quit bothering me. I may not have a full-time job, but I'm working part-time and managing just fine. At your age, still relying on part-time work? Aren't you embarrassed? Your friends have careers, families, and you're still. It's my life, and I'll live it how I want. And I have a great partner. Sophia interrupted, clearly agitated, before storming out of the room. After she left, I felt relieved. Mother-in-law, I appreciate your understanding, I said sincerely. Don't worry. Now that Sophia knows, she must be feeling some regret. My mother-in-law reassured me with a smile. But despite her reassurance, I still felt anxious. I was worried that Sophia might return with more demands. One day, when I visited my mother-in-law's house, she showed me a piece of paper. I got an invitation to Sophia's wedding recently, she said. It was indeed a wedding invitation. The groom's name was Leo. I didn't recognize the name, but my mother-in-law seemed to know him and looked somewhat worried. Leo is actually the son of the factory manager, she explained. Huh. He's the factory manager's son. That's unexpected, I said. The factory manager was someone my father-in-law had worked closely with and highly respected. Is the factory manager discussing anything specific about his son's marriage? I asked. Well, it turns out the factory manager had no idea about the marriage and was genuinely surprised when we told him, my mother-in-law explained. I see. Well, since it's already happened, I suppose we should accept it with a congratulatory spirit. There's no point in opposing it now, my mother-in-law said, her expression already accepting the situation. After the wedding, my sister-in-law probably told my mother-in-law, see, I did find a proper groom. Congratulations, Sophia, my mother-in-law said with a smile. Are you relieved now? More importantly, what are your plans for your new life together? What's your plan for the future? When my mother-in-law asked this with a serious expression, my sister-in-law seemed to be at a loss for words. Have you decided on a new place to live yet? My mother-in-law asked. That's something we'll think about in the future, Sophia replied vaguely. I thought as much. For now, you should start by living in our apartment. We're planning to move to a new place, so you can have this house. Consider it our final support for you. If you need to, find part-time jobs and support yourself. My mother-in-law said. All right, I understand, Sophia replied, looking displeased. I was surprised by her attitude. She should have been grateful for the house she received. Most of all, I felt sorry for my mother-in-law, who seemed pained and hurt. My husband, Lucas, seemed to feel the same way and quickly suggested something to my mother-in-law. "If that's the case, why don't you come live with us?" Lucas asked. "It's okay. I've already discussed and decided on our new residence with your father," my mother-in-law replied. "Are you sure that's fine?" "Well, just until we move into the new house, can we leave some of our belongings at your place?" Lucas asked. "Of course that's fine," my mother-in-law replied, which made me feel relieved. I thought once my sister-in-law got married, everything would be calm. But problems started soon after she moved into her new home. The day after they moved in, my mother-in-law called us early in the morning while we were getting ready for work. "Why are you calling so early, Mom? Is everything okay?" "Emma, I hate to bother you, but I need to ask something. Is Sophia with you?" My parents-in-law planned to take a short break from their house and stay in a hotel for a few days. During this time, my sister-in-law and her husband were supposed to move into their house. Some of the furniture and stuff from there were temporarily stored in our house. My mother-in-law was worried about how things were going for her daughter, so she decided to visit their house that morning to check. But when she got there, she couldn't find any sign of her daughter or her husband. "Since they helped move some stuff from our house to yours yesterday, I thought they might be staying with you." "No, they came back home." "Then where could they be? Maybe they went on their honeymoon." "That's possible. If you find out anything, please tell me." After that, she hung up. Later, I told my husband what happened, but he didn't know anything either. I didn't think I needed to do anything else. So I decided to wait quietly for my sister-in-law to contact us. But as days passed, not hearing from her became worrying. My mother-in-law started thinking about reporting her as missing to the police. While we were discussing this in the living room, she suddenly said, "I'll go get the bank book for a moment." "Why?" "I want to withdraw some money just in case. If we have to search for them, there might be expenses," she said, sounding worried. I understood her thinking ahead and stayed quiet in the room. Suddenly, I heard her shocked voice from the next room. "What? I can't find the bank book." My husband Lucas and I rushed to the adjacent room. Inside, my mother-in-law looked flustered in front of a shelf. "Did you keep your bank book here?" I asked, and she nodded rapidly, confused. "Isn't this the shelf we moved last time?" I remembered that we moved things from her house in 2 stages. First, the day after my sister-in-law's wedding, and then just a few days later, before she disappeared. The shelf in question was from the first move, but neither my husband nor I remembered touching it. Neither of us touched or checked that shelf. "But are you sure you left it here?" My husband's doubt annoyed her, and they started arguing. I stood there confused, watching them, when suddenly my phone rang. The unexpected call in this tense situation startled me. Reluctantly answering the phone, I asked, "What's wrong? You sound upset." It was my sister-in-law. Hearing her voice surprised me. Raising a hand to interrupt the argument, I said, "Sis, is that really you?" Both Lucas and my mother-in-law stopped arguing, turning to me with surprise. Turning back to the phone, I asked again, "It is you, right?" My sister-in-law's answer was short and annoyed. "Who else would it be? Where are you? We've been really worried about you." But my sister-in-law brushed off the question, saying, "It doesn't matter where I am. I have something to ask." From our conversation, it seemed she took the bank book and used the money to buy a car. That money belonged to me, she even said outright. Angry at her selfish comments, I told her everything that had happened. "Mom's bank book is missing, and it's causing a lot of trouble." "What? Mom's bank book is missing?" Sophia sounded genuinely surprised. "Whose name is on the bank book you have? Is it under my name?" Just a moment." I could hear her rummaging through things on the other end. She probably mistook my bank book for my mother-in-law's. But my mother-in-law hadn't spent much recently and hadn't realized it was missing. It had been over a week since Sophia took the bank book, so the money inside was probably already spent. After a while, a flustered voice said, "Wait, is this Mom's bank book?" "I knew it," I said quietly. Suddenly, my phone was snatched from my hand. My mother-in-law looked angry as she held my phone firmly. "Sophia, I've heard everything." "What? Mom, why?" "I was worried about you. Then I got a call from you. But how did you hear my conversation?" "Because Emma had her phone on speaker. I had put the phone on speaker so my husband and mother-in-law could hear what Sophia was saying." They heard everything, including that she used my bank book to buy a car. What were you thinking? That's so irresponsible. My mother-in-law's voice filled the room. Sophia apologized, sounding regretful. I'm really sorry. Using company funds without permission and taking someone's bank book. I messed up. Please forgive me. I'll be more careful from now on. It's too late for that. Come home now and explain. Yes, I understand. Sophia's shocked voice was interrupted by a loud thud from the background. Hey, Sophia, are you okay? My mother-in-law asked, but there was no reply. After a moment, Sophia's frantic voice came back. Help me at the convenience store parking lot. Then the call ended suddenly. We could guess what happened. Sophia might have hit the gas instead of the brake and driven the car into the store while on the call. Soon after, the police reported that Sophia's car crashed into the store. Both Sophia and her husband were in the car. Luckily, they weren't seriously hurt, but the aftermath was messy. It turned out Sophia didn't have car insurance, so they had to pay for all the repairs themselves. My in-laws were furious. They went to get Sophia right away. Sophia's husband's parents were also angry, especially his father, who manages a factory. He scolded Sophia harshly, saying, just because you're part of this family now, do you think everything should be handed to you? Those were the same words Sophia used with me. Just telling my mother-in-law wasn't the end of my plan. I made sure Sophia's father-in-law, the manager, heard a recording of the conversation too. With Sophia's own words on record, she couldn't deny anything. The manager was even tougher on them. He ordered Sophia and her husband, since you're broke, you'll work for me and hand over your earnings. After that, they had no choice but to work at the factory under strict supervision. It was the best option financially. My in-laws kept a close eye on them, both at work and at home. They worked all day and lived under scrutiny afterward. Feeling overwhelmed, Sophia eventually approached me at the factory, crying, asking for help. I'll do anything. Please forgive me. Anything? Then work sincerely and pay back what you took from us. Seeing Sophia so desperate, breaking down in front of me, was unexpected. Her state showed how worn out she was mentally. It's a moment I won't forget. Part of me thought, you deserve this, but seeing her like that, I felt a twinge of sympathy, but she brought it on herself. Changing the subject, my life took a big turn shortly after. I decided to quit my job. I heard they were hiring new staff, and I found out I was pregnant. I want to focus on my new life with my baby and make sure I get enough rest. Hey there, I'm Stacy, and I'm 37 years old. My husband, Eric, and I were throwing a party at our house to welcome back my brother-in-law, Uncle Isaac. He had just come home after spending 5 years in prison for a crime he didn't commit. Yep, you heard that right, prison. But before you jump to conclusions about him or our family, let me tell you, Isaac was innocent. He got caught up in something he had nothing to do with. It took 5 long years of legal battles to prove his innocence and set him free. So you can imagine how excited we all were to have him back with us. The party was buzzing, everyone having a great time. Isaac was in the spotlight, catching up with everyone and sharing stories from his time in prison. He had a special bond with my daughter, Wendy, who used to be really close to him before all this mess happened. Laughter and lively chats echoed through the house. The smell of yummy food filled the air as we all enjoyed a feast fit for royalty. It was a special time for our family, filled with happiness and togetherness, which made my heart feel warm. Once the party ended and everyone left, we were still buzzing with excitement. We were thankful to see Isaac back with us, alive, happy, and healthy after his unfair time in prison. Life went back to normal, and it felt like the drama in our family had calmed down, at least for a little while. But sadly, that happy feeling didn't last long. A couple of days after the party, I was sitting in the living room, lost in a book, when Wendy burst in looking scared and angry. I quickly put my book down and went to her side, worried about what had happened. Wendy, what's the matter? You look really scared. Tell me what's going on, I said, my voice filled with worry. Tears were rolling down Wendy's cheeks as she struggled to catch her breath. Mom, I found something. A camera. Hidden in one of my plants. My heart raced and I felt a surge of fear. A hidden camera in my daughter's room. It made my blood boil. But I had to stay calm for Wendy. We hurried to her room, my mind racing with questions. And there it was, tucked away among the leaves of her favorite plant. A tiny camera, invading her privacy. How long had it been there? I felt a mix of disgust, fear, and anger rising inside me. I wasted no time and called Eric right away, my voice shaky with a mix of feelings as I shared the shocking news. Eric, you won't believe what I just found out. There's a hidden camera in Wendy's room. We need to act fast. Eric sounded both concerned and furious. I'm coming over, Stacy. We're not going to let this slide. Our daughter deserves her privacy, and whoever did this will pay for it. While we waited for Eric, Wendy clung to me, her tears soaking my shirt. She blamed herself for not noticing the camera sooner, but I assured her it wasn't her fault. I promised to support her through this unsettling situation. When Eric arrived, his eyes reflected our emotions, anger barely contained beneath a calm surface. We carefully examined the camera, searching for any clues that could lead us to the person responsible. It was a betrayal of trust that hurt deeply, and we were determined to uncover the truth. The invasion of our safe space shattered the feeling of security we had worked so hard to build for our family. We needed to take action quickly, not only to protect our daughter, but also to restore our peace of mind. If there was one hidden camera in Wendy's room, who knew how many more might be lurking elsewhere in our home? Don't worry, Wendy. We won't stop until we find out who did this, I reassured her. Thanks, Mom. Can I please nap in the guest room? I don't feel comfortable in mine right now, and I'm really tired, Wendy asked. Of course, sweetheart. You do what you need to feel safe. I'm so sorry this happened, I replied gently. Wendy headed to the guest room, likely wanting some time alone after her privacy had been violated. I couldn't shake off the feeling of malice. Who could do something like this? We decided to review the footage, gather any evidence we could find, and involve the authorities if necessary. Nobody messes with our family like this. Though I was shaken, I found comfort in knowing Eric and I were on the same page. We sat together in the quiet of our living room, the seriousness of the situation weighing heavily on us. Our minds raced, trying to figure out who could have planted the camera in Wendy's room. As we talked it through, one name kept coming up, Isaac. I broached the subject carefully, trying to keep my voice steady. The timing is hard to ignore. The camera was likely planted during the family gathering, and who had the opportunity? Isaac. Stacy, you can't seriously think Isaac would do something like this. Yes, he's had his problems, but he's not a creep. He's my brother, for crying out loud. Eric protested. I understood Eric's reaction completely. Family bonds are strong, and suspecting a relative of such a violation feels almost unthinkable. But I couldn't ignore the clues that seemed to point towards Isaac's involvement during the family gathering. Gathering my thoughts, I spoke softly but firmly. Eric, I know it's tough to consider, but we have to face reality. Isaac spent a lot of time with Wendy at the gathering, which suggests he may have had some interest in her. Plus, he just got out of prison. People change, and their experiences can influence their actions. Our priority is to protect our daughter, even if it means questioning those closest to us. Eric looked weighed down by the situation, torn between loyalty and the evidence. Eventually, he nodded slowly, his voice filled with a mix of resignation and discomfort. I don't want to believe it, Stacy, but you're right. The timing and circumstances are hard to ignore. We have to find out the truth for Wendy's sake. The idea of confronting Isaac about the betrayal weighed heavily on our minds, but we knew it was necessary. The safety of our home and our daughter depended on it. As we braced ourselves for the tough conversation ahead, we promised to approach it with care and empathy. Finding the truth was crucial not just for our own peace, but to protect Wendy from any further harm. Days passed, and Eric struggled with conflicting feelings, loyalty to his brother versus the nagging suspicion in the back of his mind. The tension strained our relationship with Isaac and cast a shadow over our family as we grappled with uncertainty. A plan started to take shape in my mind. Risky, but it felt necessary to catch the culprit. I shared my idea with Eric, suggesting that hosting another family gathering could be the key to uncovering the truth. Think about it, Eric. Whoever planted that camera might try to retrieve it during another family event. This gathering, meant for bringing us together, could give us the chance to catch them in the act. Eric hesitated, still torn between his loyalty to his brother and the need to uncover the truth. But as I explained the urgency of our situation, he eventually agreed that we had to explore every option before getting the authorities involved. It was a tough choice, but necessary to protect our family and regain our sense of safety. I called Tina, Isaac's wife, to propose the idea of another family gathering. Hey Tina, we were thinking of having another family get-together. Are you and Isaac free to join us? Tina's response was surprisingly enthusiastic. She eagerly accepted, expressing her excitement for another gathering. It struck me as a bit odd, since she was usually more reserved, but I brushed it off, thinking she was just happy for family time. With the plans in motion, Eric and I focused on getting everything ready. Our home buzzed with anticipation and tension. We checked every corner for signs of intrusion, aiming to create a sense of normalcy while secretly preparing to catch the culprit. The stakes were high as the day of the gathering drew near, and our family's future hung in the balance. I felt a mix of nerves and determination. We were stepping into the unknown, but we were prepared to face whatever came our way to keep our daughters safe and our home secure. When the day arrived, our home filled with familiar faces once more. Excitement buzzed in the air, but underneath tension simmered. Uncle Isaac, ever charming, greeted everyone warmly, but Eric and I couldn't shake our suspicions. They loomed over us, casting a shadow on the festivities. To ensure Wendy's safety, we made the tough call to keep her away from the gathering, arranging a sleepover with a friend without revealing our concerns. With her gone, our focus sharpened, and we kept a watchful eye on anyone near her room. As the party started, laughter and chatter masked our true intentions. Eric and I played the part of hosts while secretly watching for any suspicious behavior. Our detective skills were in full swing. As the night went on, the music and dancing created a lively atmosphere, masking our true intentions. But amidst the celebration, I couldn't ignore Tina's strange behavior. She kept excusing herself, rushing off to the bathroom with an unusual urgency. My instincts kicked in, and I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Driven by curiosity, I decided to approach her. When Tina headed towards the bathroom once more, I followed quietly, my heart racing. But instead of going inside, she turned and entered Wendy's room. Panic surged through me. I knew I had to confront her, to uncover the truth behind her actions. Stepping forward, I called out her name, my voice tinged with both accusation and concern. Tina, what are you doing in Wendy's room? Startled, Tina spun around, her eyes darting around the room as if searching for an escape. But there was no escaping the truth. The tension between us thickened, heavy with unspoken accusations. I asked you a question, Tina. What are you doing in my daughter's room? Tina's facade cracked, tears welling in her eyes. Her voice shook as she said, I was just looking for Wendy. I was surprised she wasn't with us for the party. You were going through her drawers, I pointed out, my tone unwavering. Tina looked down, realizing her hands were still in the drawer she'd been searching. I can explain. Save it. The person we least expected, the one we had staunchly defended, had betrayed our trust. The room swirled with a whirlwind of disbelief and disappointment. I motioned for Eric to join me, and he rushed over, assuming we had caught Isaac in Wendy's room. But his expression turned to shock when he saw it was Tina. You planted that camera, didn't you? Why, Tina? Why would you do something like this? Eric demanded, his voice laced with anger and pain. Without hesitation, Eric called Isaac over to Wendy's room, his tone firm and commanding. Isaac, sensing the urgency, quickly joined us, confusion written all over his face. As Isaac stepped into the room, his gaze fell on Tina, tears streaming down her cheeks. Before anyone could say another word, Eric quietly closed the door, shielding the rest of the party from the unfolding drama. Taking a deep breath, I steadied my voice as I began to explain everything. I recounted the shocking discovery of the camera in Wendy's room, the invasion of their privacy that had shattered their trust. My words hung heavy in the air, the truth weighing down the room. We planned this gathering, Isaac, to catch whoever planted the camera. And to be honest, we initially suspected you. Bro, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have doubted you, especially after everything with prison. Eric interjected, his voice filled with regret. But it was mostly me who accused you, Isaac. I'm truly sorry. After finding Tina here, I realized you weren't involved. Isaac's brows furrowed, confusion clouding his expression as he looked between Stacy, Eric, and Tina. He turned to Tina, seeking answers. Tina, why were you in Wendy's room? What's going on? We caught Tina going through Wendy's things. She's the one who planted the camera. Now that everyone's here, Tina, you need to explain yourself. Why would you do something like this? Tina's eyes darted around the room, searching for support, but Isaac's shock mirrored the confusion in the room. He couldn't understand why Tina would do something so invasive, especially to her own family. Okay, you got me. Yes, I planted the camera in Wendy's room. I was just coming to take it back. We already know that. We caught you. We want to know why, Eric pressed. Because I'm jealous, okay, Tina blurted out. Tina's confession hung heavy in the air, exposing her jealousy for all to see. She admitted, with a mix of shame and frustration, that her actions were driven by envy towards Wendy. She had noticed Isaac and Wendy talking a lot during the last family gathering, and it sparked jealousy within her. She questioned what made Wendy so special, what drew Isaac's attention and affection towards her. Isaac felt the need to defend himself, his voice tinged with defensiveness and genuine concern. Tina, you know I care about Wendy, but not in a weird way. Being her uncle is important to me. I was just checking on her, making sure she was okay. It was out of love and family concern, nothing strange. But why were you always praising Wendy? It made me wonder what was so great about her. Tina countered, her jealousy still evident. So you're upset because I'm proud of being an uncle. Tina, is there something wrong with being proud of my niece? I have every right to support and appreciate Wendy. It's not about playing favorites, it's just genuine love for family. I didn't expect you to react like this. Trying to navigate the emotions in the room, I turned to Tina. What were you hoping to find by planting the camera? What did you think you'd uncover? I just wanted to see how Wendy lives, you know? Maybe if I understood her better and acted like her, I could get the same attention from you, Isaac. I wanted to feel valued like she is. You're acting crazy, Tina. Jealous of a teenager. That's messed up, Isaac snapped, his frustration evident. After an awkward silence that could rival a library, Eric decided to end the party. Good call, I agreed. The last thing we need is to keep partying after discovering Tina's true colors. The resident creep of the year. Once the relatives were gone, it was just Eric and me left to deal with the fallout of Tina's actions. And let me tell you, it wasn't pretty. I unleashed a verbal storm on Tina, making a sailor blush. I mean, who does that? Who plants a camera in their niece's room? Sick, that's who. Isaac looked lost, disappointment written all over his face. I guess he couldn't believe what his wife had done. Can't say I blame him. I'd be equally stunned if my partner turned out to be a lunatic. As the dust settled and our emotions ran dry, Eric and I found ourselves sitting in our once cheerful home, now tainted by one family member's sinister acts. The next day, when Wendy returned, it fell to me to break the news to expose the twisted truth. Tears filled Wendy's eyes as I recounted the violation of her privacy. The poor girl, innocent and unsuspecting, couldn't believe someone in our own family could do something so awful. Mom, I never imagined this could happen, especially from Tina. Seriously. Wendy's disbelief mirrored my own. I shook my head, struggling to comprehend it myself. I know it's hard to believe. Tina's really crossed a line. With Wendy in my arms, her tears staining my shoulder, I made her a promise. We were going to fight back. Pressing charges was just the beginning. Tina needed a reality check, and we were ready to give it to her. Her tearful eyes met mine, seeking reassurance. But Mom, how is Uncle Isaac doing? I sighed, the weight of our shattered family hanging heavily in the air. Honestly, he's struggling. It's hard for him to celebrate his freedom knowing he's married to someone who's acted so terribly. So, are they getting a divorce? I don't know, sweetheart. I hate what she's done to us. Me too. But right now, our priority is your safety. We're getting a restraining order against Tina so she won't come near you again. We're pressing charges and getting a restraining order against Tina, the one with the camera, and the bond between Isaac and our family, it's strained, shattered by this betrayal. There's an awkward silence between us, a reminder of how far jealousy can go, but we're determined to rebuild and find comfort in those who truly care. The road ahead might be tough, but we're ready to face it. Our family's love will help us through. Hey everyone, I'm Sandra and I'm 28 years old. I live in Houston, Texas, but I'm getting ready to move soon. I was in a really bad marriage for 1.5 years, but I got out of it with the help of my dad and the police. It was my fault though. I got myself into that mess. If I had been smarter, I might have said no to getting married. I've always been a shy and quiet girl. I didn't really enjoy hanging out with people. Most of the time, I just stay on my computer, lost in the online world. Sometimes I'd go to pubs for a drink, but I'd get uncomfortable when strangers tried to befriend me. I'd always turn them down because they were strangers, and I worried they might try to harm me. When I was 6, my mom passed away because she had a heart problem that wasn't treated. After that, my dad took care of me. He's been a sailor since he was 23, going on long trips exploring the sea. I really missed him when he was away. He used to send letters to my mom and try calling her whenever he could. But when my mom died, he came back to be with me. He found me crying a lot next to her coffin. He picked me up and tried to comfort me. "Hey, my little girl, did you miss me? You've grown so much." "Papa." Hey there, Dove, it's okay now. Daddy's here. Everything will be okay. I promise. All right. Even though he said that, I kept crying in his arms, holding onto his uniform tightly. My dad gently patted my back and hummed my favorite lullaby until I fell asleep. Later that night, I saw him sitting alone on the couch, drinking. He looked really sad. He kept saying things to himself, then buried his face in a cushion and started crying. It was the second time I'd ever seen him cry. The first was when I fell off a slide and got hurt. Maybe he blamed himself for everything that happened. He took a break from work for 2 months before leaving again. Before he left me with my grandma, who took care of me while he was away. "Be good to Granny, okay? She's here for you. You'll be a good girl and help her out. And you? I'll be back soon, my dove. I asked Granny to teach you how to bake your favorite treats and cook your favorite meals. Will you learn from her?" "Yes, Dad, I will. Next time I come back, I'd love to taste your dishes. But for now, I have to go. My car's waiting. You take care of yourself, honey." He left. I knew he'd be back in about 6 months. He often sent me gifts and little souvenirs from the places he visited. Most of the time, I stayed indoors and helped Grandma with her chores. I didn't really like playing with other kids. As I got older, I relied more and more on the comfort of my room. Eventually, my dad sent me back to our old house. I really disliked going to college and interacting with people. The internet gave me confidence that the outside world couldn't. It's exciting and comforting to talk to people I might never meet in person. I can share my thoughts and feelings without worrying about being judged for being shy. Through the screen, I found friends who truly get me. I've met people from all over the world with different backgrounds and experiences. Learning about their lives is fascinating, and it shows how alike we all are despite our differences. The internet connects us across continents, bringing us together in ways we couldn't have imagined before. There, I met a guy named Ricky. He said he was a streamer. We started chatting, then moved on to video calls. I often wore a Batman mask to hide my identity, and he covered his face with a scarf and wore a beanie. "Hi Sandra, it's great to finally see you." "Hello Rick, nice to meet you," while virtually. "Same here. So how are you feeling today? How many people have you chatted with?" "I'm okay, just a little nervous to be honest." "That's totally normal. But don't worry, I'm not scary. I'm just as awkward as you. This is our first real chat." "So Rick, tell me more about yourself. How did you get into this online platform?" "Well, I really enjoy meeting new people and seeing things from different angles. I tend to spend a lot of time at home, so this online community seemed like a great way to connect with others. How about you?" "I'm pretty much your typical introvert, so I struggle a bit with socializing in person. Online platforms give me a sense of ease and let me be more open." "I get it. Virtual connections can be surprisingly meaningful. I'm glad we found each other." We talked for a while, discovering shared interests and swapping stories about our lives. As the conversation flowed, I started feeling more relaxed. It's funny, I never expected to feel so comfortable talking to someone online. "Thanks for making it easy." "The feeling's mutual, Sandra. You're great to talk to, and I'm happy we connected. If you ever want to chat again, just give me a shout. I'm usually online playing Mario." "Oh, forgot to ask, do you play games?" "Actually, no, I mostly blog and browse Reddit. There's so much interesting stuff there. I feel like I learn more from other people's stories than from real-life examples." "Totally. Sometimes real life can be a drag. It's cool to meet new people. Like, look at me. I trust my online friends more than the ones I know in person." The best part about online stuff is you don't have to feel pressure to keep in touch. You can take it or leave it. It's up to you. As Ricky and I kept talking, we formed a real bond despite being strangers online. Our shared understanding and open-mindedness made us feel like friends beyond the screen. I'm not sure where this connection will take me, but one thing is for sure, my online experiences have shaped who I am. As I go through life, I'll always carry the lessons I've learned from my digital world with me. My dad, on the other hand, is very cautious. If he knew I was making friends online, he'd be really mad. Last time he talked to me, he sat me down and lectured me during dinner. "How are your studies, Dove?" "I've graduated." "Well, you wouldn't know. You weren't there." "Oh, Sandra, that's not good. I know I was really busy, and I'm sorry for missing out. I even emailed you saying I'd be there for your birthday. Tomorrow's my pumpkin's birthday." "Stop calling me names. I'm not a little kid anymore. To me, you'll always be my little Dove. Anyway, what are your plans for the future? Are you thinking of working?" "I'm not sure yet." "What do you mean you're not sure? What are your friends up to these days?" "I don't have any friends." "What?" "Listen, I didn't send you to your mom's place so you could just stay home and not interact with the world. There's so much out there, so many people you'll miss out on if you don't get out there, honey." "That's the problem, Dad. I don't really know how, but I'll try. I mean, I do have friends, but they're all online." "Online? Sandra, that's not the best way to make friends." "Oh, come on." "All right, fine. How about we go out today? Maybe do a little shopping, just you and me. I haven't been out much lately, but I don't know if I can." "Of course you can, Sandra. You have to try. This isn't a healthy way to live. I understand ever since Marissa passed away, you've... Why are you bringing Mom into this? What are you trying to say?" "I'm not trying to say anything, honey. I'm just saying that we need to find ways to move forward from past hurts. We both love your mom, but we need to learn to move on." I don't know why, but I got really angry. I slammed the table and stood up. I didn't even want to finish my food. I took my plates to the sink. "Sandra, please don't give your father that attitude. I was just trying to help you. Why can't you see that? You don't know everything about me, so don't try to." I was so angry. I went online to find Rick. At first, Ricky seemed like a nice person, understanding and willing to listen. It felt good to have someone to talk to, especially about the frustrations I've been dealing with. As an introvert, I always found comfort at home, with my computer screen as my companion. While others went out into the world, I preferred the safety of my virtual haven, where I could be myself without the pressure of face-to-face interactions. Lately, my dad had been pushing me more and more, especially since I told him how much time I spent online. I knew this would happen, he just didn't understand. He thought staying in my room all the time would hold me back from growing and learning. He wanted me to step out of my comfort zone, and that scared me. I vented my frustrations to Ricky, hoping he'd understand what I was going through. "Hey Sandra, do you want to meet up? We're both introverts, so we can go somewhere quiet, with not too many people." "I know a place like that." "I'm not sure. It feels really sudden. I need some time to think. I just wanted to let you know what's been going on." "Okay, no problem. I can wait. Whenever you're ready, you're always welcome to come by. Here's my address." "Why are you being so nice to me? I'm just a stranger, aren't I?" "Because I like you." "Like me, really?" "Yeah, I know it might sound strange, but I really want to get to know you. And if you ever feel the same, you know where to find me." It was a big step for me, stepping out into the real world. My heart was racing with excitement and nerves as I stood outside Rick's house, finally ready to meet the person I'd been talking to online for the past month. Surprisingly, he lived really close to me, just a 20-minute drive or so. I took a deep breath, gathering my courage before knocking on the weathered wooden door. It creaked open, and there was Rick with a warm smile that instantly calmed my nerves. He was quite charming. His house might not have been fancy at first glance, but there was something cozy about it. It felt authentic and welcoming. As I stepped inside, I couldn't help but notice the small details that spoke volumes about Ricky's character. The bookshelves filled with well-loved classics, the stack of board games, his computer setup, and so on. "Welcome, welcome to my humble abode. Your presence graces my domain, fair master." Some gaming talk I might not fully grasp, but thank you. "This is a really cozy place. Do you live alone?" "Nope, fair princess. I live with my mom. She stays downstairs, while I have the top floor all to myself. Come, I'll give you a tour." We spent the day talking, laughing, and getting to know each other even better. Meeting in person added a new dimension to our connection, and I grew to appreciate the person behind the screen even more. Rick was just as kind and genuine as I had hoped, and his quirky sense of humor only made me like him more. As the sun set, Rick suggested we take a walk outside, and I agreed eagerly. As we strolled through the nearby park, our conversation flowed effortlessly, and my initial nervousness melted away. Being with him in person felt like a natural extension of our online chats, but with a deeper level of closeness. Wait, so you didn't celebrate your birthday? No, I didn't really feel like it, especially after the argument with my dad. I'm really sorry to hear that. I'm sure he'll come around. He's your dad after all. I made a mistake. I trusted him too much. His words seemed sweet like honey, but I didn't realize I was just another one of his games. When we started dating, he became overly possessive and jealous. He always wanted me to talk to him on the phone or online. If I tried to chat with anyone else, he'd get angry. He kept saying he loved me and wanted to protect me. I believed him. Why did I believe him? As our relationship got stronger, it became clear that his mom didn't approve of me. It was tough to know she felt that way about me, someone she hadn't even met. Her disapproval weighed on me, and I couldn't understand why she couldn't see the love we had. Rick's close relationship with his mom was obvious, and he often called himself a mama's boy. While I respected their bond, it also made me feel distant. I knew family was important to him, but I felt like an outsider dealing with his mom's disapproval. The strangest thing was that his mother kind of wanted us to get married. She knew I didn't have anyone else in the world since my dad wasn't around. Maybe she thought I'd be useful to her. Not every parent is perfect. Just look at your dad. At least my mom cares about me. Please, Rick, when you talk like that, it really hurts. But you know I'm the one who loves you, right? Your dad doesn't love you like I do. So stop complaining about my life and try to compromise. We ended up having a secret wedding. Ricky didn't want me to invite my dad, saying he'd never approve. He managed to make me believe that my dad didn't care about me. I went along with it and got married to him quietly. I knew it was risky, but I was weak. You can call me weak, but my environment shaped me, and I blamed myself for not standing up for myself. After a few months of being married, I began to see a side of his mother I never expected, one filled with cruelty and malice. She seemed to enjoy making me suffer, deliberately making me doubt myself and leaving me feeling shattered and defeated. It started with small comments and passive-aggressive remarks, slowly wearing down my confidence. I tried to ignore it, hoping her disapproval would go away over time. But instead, it only got worse, turning into a constant stream of emotional abuse. What is this? Is this supposed to be food? You think my son can eat this mess? Go and make it again, you idiot. Why is this place so dirty? Are you blind? What a sloppy girl. Get up, lazy girl. Take out the trash now. Honestly, have your parents taught you nothing? Her words were like daggers, leaving wounds that cut deep into my soul. She questioned every move I made, belittled my accomplishments, and manipulated situations to make me feel unworthy of Ricky's love. Meanwhile, my husband stayed in his room, lost in his music or video games. It felt like I was trapped in a never-ending nightmare, unable to escape her grip. Inside, I was filled with rage. I blamed myself for being so weak and stupid. How could I let myself be treated like this? I missed my dad terribly. I regretted our fights and pushing him away. I yelled at him to leave me alone, and with a heavy heart, he did a few days after my birthday. Now, I felt stuck and believed I deserved every bit of it. One day, feeling unwell and feverish, I curled up on the sofa, hoping a nap would help. Just as I was about to doze off, I was jolted awake by a sudden splash of cold water. It was Ally with a disgusted look on her face. What the hell are you doing sleeping on our couch? Did you get our groceries like I told you to? I didn't respond. I see. You want your old mother-in-law to do all the dirty work while you just lay around, you devil. She slapped me and started calling for Ricky. I couldn't take it anymore. I snapped. I'm not doing anything for you or your useless son. I've had enough of your. Go bother someone else. I can't and I won't take it anymore. I didn't receive an ounce of respect from this family, and I didn't care anymore. As I was about to leave, something blunt hit the back of my head, and I blacked out. When I regained consciousness, I found myself in a dimly lit room. My head throbbed with pain, and I struggled to stand up. Where was I? I could hear faint sounds approaching, growing louder as they neared. Crawling towards the noise, I found a metal door with a small window. It opened, revealing Ricky's grinning face. Is my wife scared of the dark? What is this, Ricky? Please let me out. This isn't funny. Shut up. This is what you get for disrespecting my mother. Now I'll make sure you never see the light of day again. Please, Ricky, I'm sorry. I'll do anything. I promise I won't complain. Please let me out, I beg you. Not so fast, Buttercup. If you behave, I might consider letting you out. For now, this will be your little hideout. It's not like you enjoy going out anyway. And who do you have? Your mom is gone. Your dad doesn't care about you. You're just a forgotten soul. My house gave you a chance to start over, but you blew it. I'll make it right. I didn't mean to upset you, Ricky. Please let me out. I hate being in the dark. Daddy's girl, huh? Why don't you call out to him? Maybe he'll magically appear and rescue his princess. He closed the window and left. As I sat in a cold, dark basement, fear and anger consumed me. How did things get to this point? All I did was stand up for myself against my mother-in-law's unfair treatment, and now I was paying the price. As I reached into my pockets, I felt my broken and shattered phone. I lost all hope. But then, I noticed a faint blinking light on the screen. I still had a chance to call my dad. With trembling hands and tears streaming down my face, I dialed his number. My voice shook as I told him what had happened, desperately hoping he could somehow rescue me from this nightmare. 2 days later, when I was barely hanging on and despair threatened to overwhelm me, I heard a car pull up outside the house. My heart raced as I strained to hear footsteps coming down the stairs. When the door swung open and I saw my father standing tall and resolute, a wave of relief and disbelief washed over me. I couldn't believe he had dropped everything to come save me. He had brought some cops with him. Rick and Allie were arrested on the spot. They tried to lie, but it was futile. You have no idea what you'll face in court, you psychopaths. What have you done to my little girl? We are truly sorry. We never meant any harm. I was planning to let her go today, I swear, Rick pleaded. And who are you to decide my daughter's fate? You're nothing but a pathetic scumbag from the gutter. All right, Sandra, let's go. As my dad led me out of that dark basement, I felt a newfound sense of strength and determination. The ordeal had been incredibly tough, but it showed me that I could overcome anything with my dad's unwavering support. From that moment on, I promised myself to stand up for myself and never let anyone silence me again. I hope Ricky and his mom rot in jail. I'm planning to move to New Orleans with my dad. Texas doesn't feel safe anymore, and I'll make sure to never trust online strangers again. Lesson learned.
I am Emily, aged 35, and for the past decade, I've devoted my life to homemaking. My partner in this journey was Michael, a doctor. Despite our lack of children, we found contentment in our shared existence. However, the tranquility was shattered one day when Michael arrived home late, delivering a proclamation that would mark the end of our 10-year marriage. "It's over for us, Emily," he declared. Bewildered, I questioned him about the sudden revelation. Michael, habitually returning late, dropped a bombshell. He had decided to marry his mistress, and divorce was imminent. Shocked, I exclaimed, "Marry your mistress? What are you talking about?" Michael asserted his decision, emphasizing that our union lacked the foundation of love. Our marriage was orchestrated by his parents, who deemed me a suitable match. We tied the knot hastily, knowing little about each other beyond sharing a common last name. People might call it fate that we shared the same surname, and in the whirlwind of surrounding marriages, I succumbed to the notion marrying him. Our union, though not built on love, endured for a decade. Little did I anticipate that Michael would abruptly opt for a divorce. I confronted him about the betrayal, demanding to know when he started betraying me. Michael insisted it wasn't betrayal, revealing that he met his mistress, a nurse in our hospital, a year ago. Enthralled by her charm and caring nature, he was drawn to her. The revelation left me incredulous. Despite our marriage's lack of love, I never imagined Michael's callous desire to marry another woman. He demeaned our shared history, expressing disdain for my role as a homemaker. His words cut deep, stating that he found me boring and that living with me for 10 years was hell. I agreed to the divorce, shocked at his callousness. We discussed the legalities later, But Michael dropped another bombshell. He never submitted our marriage registration. We were not legally married. We were merely cohabitants. His elaborate scheme, formed during our initial agreement, ensured that he maintained control over all official matters. As the reality sank in, I realized that the life I thought I had built was nothing more than an illusion. Michael had strategically kept our marriage unregistered to secure financial control. The 10 years we spent together seemed like a cruel joke, orchestrated by someone I thought I knew. I was meant to be with you, and you should have rejected the marriage proposal from the beginning. But I couldn't. My parents are stubborn and wouldn't listen. If I had refused, I wondered what would have happened. Besides, I needed a housekeeper. As a busy doctor, I couldn't handle household chores. So I decided to marry you for practical reasons, as a housekeeper. It was a mutually beneficial arrangement. You had a good place to live and meals without the burden of work. It seemed like a fair deal, especially since you appeared eager to get married, perhaps influenced by societal expectations. This 10-year relationship was a win-win situation for both of us, or so I thought. But it ends today. You should appreciate the good times we had, but now you have to live on your own without depending on others. And one more thing, don't inform my parents about our situation. If you do anything unnecessary, you know what will happen to your father. He has a contract with the hospital where he works, thanks to our marriage. I'm implying that I could sever that connection as a threat. In other words, I'm warning you not to take any actions I would find undesirable. He laughed, claiming it was my fault for being deceived, leaving me with nothing. However, unbeknownst to him, the one who would be left with nothing was him. I couldn't help but burst into laughter. "What's so funny all of a sudden?" he asked, puzzled. "I can't believe you became a doctor with that kind of knowledge," I retorted. Confused, he questioned, "What do you mean?" I had known about his mistress and the fact that he didn't submit our marriage registration all along. In fact, I had suspected his infidelity for the past 6 months, but lacked evidence to confront him. I had hired a private investigator to look into his affair. The investigator revealed 2 crucial pieces of information. First, there was evidence of my husband entering a hotel with a nurse from his workplace. Second, based on their conversations, there was a possibility that we were not legally married. "What does that mean?" I asked in disbelief. He explained, "I overheard your husband and his mistress at a cafe. They mentioned not needing to worry about alimony or property division because they never submitted a marriage registration." I couldn't believe it. We had been living as a married couple for 10 years, and the revelation that we might not be legally married was shocking. It explained why he never allowed me to handle any official procedures. This is too much. Am I just supposed to accept this? If we were never married from the start, there's nothing. I trailed off, grappling with the reality of our situation. "I can do more than you think," I asserted. Confused, my friend asked, "What do you mean?" I suggested, "Let's make him pay for deceiving you for 10 years. First, we need to prepare without him noticing." So, I initiated preparations with the investigator to hold my husband accountable. He had arrogantly claimed, "So what if you knew we were never married from the start? I don't need to take any responsibility." Mocking my supposed pitiful ignorance, he believed he was in the clear. However, I turned the tables on him. "You said I was pitiful for not knowing anything, but it seems you were the one who was pitiful," I retorted. I revealed a legal loophole. Our relationship, though never formally married, was considered a common law relationship on paper. I explained, in a common law relationship, you can actually claim alimony and divide property. Confused, he questioned, "What are these conditions?" I clarified. First, both parties must have the intention to marry. The second is living as if married, including sharing household life for over 3 years. We meet these criteria. I continued, "Even if you can claim alimony and property division, you're just an unemployed woman, planning to rely on your parents after being kicked out." With a smirk, I assured him, "Didn't I say I was preparing?" I've already found a job starting next month, and I've got my eye on a new place. Defeated, he stammered. But even if you can claim alimony and property division, do you not care what happens to your father if they want to break the contract? Unfazed, I replied, let's see if they'll break a contract just because the doctor's wife of 10 years was a lie. Try saying that to my father and see if we won't be affected. As I took out my phone to inform my parents of the impending end to our relationship, he panicked. You're not calling your parents, are you? I calmly stated, that's exactly what I'm doing. Our parents think we're still married. It's only natural to inform them if this relationship is ending. Surprisingly, he began to apologize to me, realizing the tables had turned. Please, let me talk to them. Don't call, he pleaded urgently. I raised an eyebrow, frustrated. Why? You know how strict my parents are. If they find out about this, I'm done. I retorted, what does that have to do with me? Are you asking me not to tell the truth because your parents are strict? Are you kidding? You could have refused the marriage from the start if you didn't intend to marry. After 10 years of a selfish marriage, you're afraid of your parents finding out. I can't accept such a convenient story. But I can't accept your story either. I'll make sure to tell both your parents and mine. I declared, and without hesitation, I called both sets of parents. All four were shocked upon hearing my story, leading to a prompt arrangement of a meeting at our house. I've heard everything over the phone. Is it true that you pretended to be married for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration? Speak up, you foolish son, his father scolded. His response was a sheepish admission, it's true. I didn't submit it. His mother intervened. Why would you do such a thing? Didn't you think about how Emily would feel? I had no choice, he defended himself. No choice, you say? How can you even say that? It's actually your fault, Dad and Mom. I didn't want to get married yet. You started looking for a bride on your own, saying it was time I got married. You arranged meetings and tried to force a marriage on me. You're the one who agreed to the marriage, aren't you? I had to agree. If I had refused, you would have made a fuss about it. So I decided to get married, he explained, pointing the blame back at his parents. His father questioned, if you were resolved to marry, why didn't you submit the marriage registration? He cited an internet story. I read about a man in the same situation. He didn't want to marry but had to because of his parents. He lived a married life without submitting the registration and revealed the truth when he found someone he truly loved. That's appalling. What happened to that guy in the end? I asked. He's now married to the person he loves and has a real marriage. So, I too will marry my girlfriend and have a real marriage, he declared confidently. Then my parents spoke up. A real marriage, huh? Sure, you might not have had a love marriage, but do you remember what you said at the wedding? We will never forget to care for each other and build a home full of smiles. What did those words mean to you? What were we shown? We sent our daughter to you hoping for her happiness, but you deceived her for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration. Did you build a home full of smiles? Now you're leaving her for another woman. Can someone who acts without a shred of care, even if they change partners, truly have a real marriage? He stammered, attempting to respond, but my father cut him off. I was happy you married our daughter, not just because you were a doctor. I thought she could build a happy home with someone as sincere as you, but it seems we were mistaken and deceived. And you threatened our daughter. If she told us about this, you'd cut off the contract with our company. Seriously. If you're going to threaten our daughter, we'll cut off the contract ourselves. Be warned. We will tell the truth when asked. Why? If you do that, there will be rumors at the hospital, my father warned. His face paled at the unexpected turn of events, and he pleaded, please wait. This is getting out of hand. Let's just talk. But my father-in-law, furious, wasn't having it. Don't mess with us, he declared, grabbing my husband by the collar. We didn't raise you to be such a scoundrel. What were you thinking? Father, please stop. By not submitting the marriage registration, you might have thought you were doing yourself a favor, but because of your selfish actions, Emily was strung along for 10 years. I interjected, my voice firm. What were you thinking, causing such trouble to others? The living room fell silent as my father-in-law confronted my husband with these stern words. Faced with the weight of those accusations, my husband had nothing more to say. I spoke up, addressing my in-laws. Emily and your parents, I'm truly sorry for the trouble caused by this idiot. No, you parents shouldn't apologize. It's not your fault. However, it's partly our responsibility as parents for letting him act this way. For now, we'll take him home and make sure he doesn't continue his reckless behavior. We'll deal with the aftermath properly. We're very sorry for all this, my father-in-law admitted. With that, my husband was taken away by his parents, back to his childhood home. You've been through a lot. For now, you should come back home and rest. We'll think about what to do next later. You don't need to worry about anything right now, my parents assured me, expressing their concern. Thank you, but I won't go back home yet. I still have things I need to do. I declined their offer and chose to stay in my own home. What I had to do was prepare for the final settlement with my now ex-husband, gathering evidence for our common law relationship. I was getting ready to claim alimony and divide our assets. A few weeks later, a meeting with a lawyer was arranged. However, even if I agreed to alimony, my ex-husband couldn't accept the idea of dividing his property. Why should I divide my property? She's been a homemaker for 10 years, never working a day. All the furniture, clothes, food. I paid for everything. Now you're telling me to hand over the money I worked hard for? The furniture I bought? He ranted, unable to accept that his money would be shared with me. The lawyer explained, yes, that's correct. The money you earned and the furniture are subject to property division. Why does it have to be like that? Who did the housework while you were working? Who cooked meals with the groceries you bought? He argued. That's irrelevant now. No, it's very relevant. A homemaker is entitled to property division because housework and childcare have economic value. Speaking as a human, not just a lawyer, do you think housework is something anyone can do? That it's just expected of a homemaker? The reason you could live freely is because of her support. Don't get that wrong, the lawyer asserted. He was taken aback, and in frustration, he said, and this situation is a result of your actions, yet you have the audacity to be selfish. The lawyer responded, what do you say? Never mind. Anyway, she's entitled to half of the assets for property division. That's how it is. Regarding alimony, we intend to claim $100,000 from you, the lawyer continued. $100,000? Why so much for a relationship that wasn't even a marriage? He protested. It's precisely because you weren't married. Normally, alimony claims in common law relationships range from $10,000 to $40,000. However, in your case, you pretended to be married for 10 years and selfishly tried to kick her out when you found someone else. The amount is determined by the severity and duration of your actions. But still, you may think 10 years is just a short time, but it's longer than you realize. During that time, she devoted herself to you, believing you were a married couple. You have no right to complain after betraying her, the lawyer explained, presenting a strong case. Unable to counter this argument, he reluctantly agreed to my demands. I also sent a notice of claim for alimony to his mistress, thanks to the investigator who revealed her identity. As he had said, she was a nurse working at the same hospital. In a panic after being served with the alimony claim from me, she confronted him at the hospital with the notice I had sent. Wait a minute. This isn't what you told me. What do you want? I told you not to talk to me at the hospital. I got this from your wife. You said there wouldn't be any alimony because we weren't married. What's this all about? She questioned him. I later learned that their confrontation at the hospital had sparked quite a scene. Okay. Let's talk about this later, not here. There are too many people around. We'll both be in trouble if this turns into a rumor. He tried to defuse the situation. I don't care about that. I can't pay this kind of alimony. You said it was okay, so you should pay it for me. What? I won't pay a penny. You were the one who wanted this relationship. You said I was the only one for you, that you wanted to marry me. Hey, quiet down. Everyone can hear us. Just so you know, I'm not in the wrong here. If you want to make amends with your wife, do it yourself. Tell her I don't owe her a penny, that you'll take care of everything. Wait, hold on. This exchange led to the revelation of their affair to the entire hospital. It quickly became the talk of the place. Then, the final blow was my father's request to the hospital. I apologize, but we would like to terminate our contract at the end of next month. The hospital, aware of the rumors, asked my father, "Excuse me for asking, but is the reason for canceling the contract related to Dr. Michael's affair?" It's already become a rumor. Yes, a nurse presumed to be involved caused quite a scene. I never imagined he had been pretending to be married for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration. I never expected it to turn out like this. You mean he never submitted the registration? Weren't you aware that he hadn't submitted the marriage registration? All we knew was that he, being married, had an affair. What do you mean he didn't submit the marriage registration? With my father's request, it was revealed that he had been deceiving me for 10 years by not submitting the marriage registration. This news spread among the other nurses. Dr. Michael deceived his wife for 10 years without submitting a marriage registration, and he had an affair with a nurse. How low? How could he do that? Can someone really not notice for 10 years? Apparently, Emily's maiden name was the same, and he managed all the official paperwork. That's scary. The rumors spread not only among hospital staff, but also to patients, and both Michael and his mistress received cold stares. Unable to endure, they soon resigned from the hospital. As my father told me, "Did you manage to get the alimony?" Yes, I received payments from both him and his mistress. She refused to pay until the end, claiming she was deceived. But the lawyer made it clear her argument wouldn't hold, and she reluctantly agreed to pay. That's good. What about you, Dad? Did the contract get canceled after all? No, that's off the table. He resigned, and since our company is trusted, the hospital asked us not to cancel the contract. We couldn't cancel it after they asked like that. That's a relief. Then I started a new life in a new place and was living happily. About a year and a half later, my ex-husband contacted me. "Is it true you got remarried?" I had married a man I met at work, and somehow he had found out. I wondered whose number this was, going through the trouble of changing your number just to contact me. Just answer my question. Yes, I got married. You betrayed me. Betray. We were never legally married, so I didn't think it would matter to you, right? That's a different matter. Indeed, things are different now. We're completely separated, so my marriage has nothing to do with you. Is that why you contacted me? After I said this, he seemed at a loss for words. Then he taunted, "Of course, you're still unmarried, since you probably haven't submitted a marriage registration again. You're that kind of woman." But things weren't as he imagined. Unfortunately for him, my husband isn't the kind of person to do such terrible things. He knows all about your story. So to ensure I wouldn't feel anxious, we went to the office together to submit the registration. Sadly for you, things aren't as you thought. I can somewhat understand your wish for me to be unhappy, considering your own misery. But sorry, we're happily married. I told him this and hung up the phone. What kind of life he leads now, I don't know. But unless he changes his selfish nature, it's unlikely he'll ever find happiness.